Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to the listeners of the Good Anime Palette Podcast. Welcome to episode 90, where we'll be covering the Gotta Watch 'Em All series. Yes, we have now finally come full circle to essentially wrap up a couple of loose ends. It's the 10th iteration, which means we're about to finish up, at least until like what is already out for the anime, Jojo Part 6, therefore wrapping up the Gotta Watch 'Em All for Jason, and for myself, wrapping up Sword Art Online, Alicization, War of Underworld, and thus putting an end to my Gotta Watch 'Em All for the SAO series. It's been a very, very long time, but it's still going to be me. It's still going to be Jason. We're going to go straight into talking about some classic anime. It's crazy to talk about Sword Art Online as classic because it came out like 10, 12 years ago. And Jojo, as much as the Stone Ocean part came out like a year or two ago, the manga series is running since like 1989 or something like that.
Yeah.
It's been a long time coming. And what's even crazier is that whilst this is the 10th iteration of the Gotta Watch 'Em All, I've already gone over the Monogatari series and now going over Sword Art Online. Jason, on the other hand, has been doing nothing but watching JoJo's Bizarre Adventure for 2.5 years.
And stay tuned for the end of this episode where we reveal the future direction of Gotta Watch Them All.
Yeah.
So stay tuned for that.
Finally, we'll be going over some new stuff. So,
I am at least.
I will be too.
Yeah.
Because I'm done with
True.
SAO until they start releasing more stuff. But I think I've watched all the movies and watched all the TV series. You don't need to continue doing JoJo because it'll probably still be a while before Part 7 and Part 8 get animated. At that point, like, we can just do them as seasonal reviews.
Yeah, I mean, just like the Monogatari, Off, and Monster Season, the whole point of Gotta Watch Them All is, like, there needs to be, like, a catalog of it to binge and, like, journey through rather than, oh, let's add this thing and add this thing and add this thing in. Yeah. So yeah.
So I think we'll just go in the order of the docket, which means we're going to be kicking things off with a little bit of a sneak peek or maybe a non-spoiler discussion of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 6, Stone Ocean, Parts 2 and 3.
We're going to have to do definitions and disclaimers because it's got to watch them all, so we need to pay particular attention. We will always have a non-spoiler section and a spoiler section. We'll have it time-stamped, and when we do the timestamps for the spoiler section, we will have like a moment of silence before we get into it, just in case you accidentally misclicked. Also, hey, if you didn't watch any of the other JoJo parts, probably should before you listen to this.
Exactly.
Unless if you want to be spoiled, because, for example, maybe with Alicization, like, I didn't watch it, but I quite liked our discussion. I was quite convinced to watch it, too.
Yeah.
So, here we go.
Okay, so hopefully you guys have either watched series 1 through 5 or have been listening to all of our Gotta Watch 'Em Alls to know what the hell's going on in Part 6. It's, again, really weird. JoJo Part 6, Stone Ocean Part 2 and 3.
Yes.
Naming conventions. Does not make sense. Anyways, this is based on the manga of the same name, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Stone Ocean, by Hirohiko Araki, who did the story and art. This was serialized from 1995 through to 1999, so I had about a 3.5-year run. A total of 17 volumes, 158 chapters. And it's also published in English through Viz Media. So the parts that Jason is going to be covering are still all available on Netflix. Part 2 covers one cour of episodes 13 to 24, and then Part 3 covers episodes 25 to 38, which is a little bit longer than a standard cour. All still done by David Productions. In total, all of Part 6 ran over 39 episodes, and you're not going to be watching it anywhere else but on Netflix, as it is an exclusive there. I'm not going to go into the scores yet, unless you want to divulge them now. But since this is your discussion part, since you've been watching it, I'll let you go into what you want to talk about for JoJo.
So, non-spoiler discussion. So we're going to go into non-spoiler discussion for JoJo first, right?
Do JoJo, and then afterwards we'll do SAO, yeah.
And then spoilers for JoJo and then SAO, or whatever. Okay, yeah. Cool. Okay. So last that we left off is part 1, because with the weird timing of it all, I had to watch the end of Golden Wind and then the beginning part of Stone Ocean. So I also re-listened to what I said about part 1 of Stone Ocean. And now I have finished all of Stone Ocean. And Part 2 and Part 3 were not only released in very specific chunks such that they have a different mal entry, they're also very different in feel, if I could put it that word.
Yeah, I'm gonna get my popcorn ready because, as always, when you're doing the second half review of a JoJo series, I honestly do not know which direction you're going in, but it'll be nonetheless entertaining.
So let me ask you, Will, before I get into non-spoilery discussions or reading into the docket, what do you think I would feel, or what even is your opinion of Part 2 and Part 3? Now, you also read...
I didn't watch Stone Ocean,
right?
But I've read all of the manga,
and
right?
also
so
Part 7.
It's hard for me to sort of figure out which Parts 2 and Part 3 cover in terms of like the volumes in the
I'll
manga.
just tell you because it's a Part 2 takes place in a maximum security ward.
Okay,
and then Part 3 is going to a certain location.
Okay, then I know exactly where you are then. Cool. I think over the course of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 6, right, Stone Ocean, it's one of the series throughout all of JoJo that's been the most hot and cold. Yes, we've really talked about like Phantom Blood. We talked about what was Part 2 called again?
Battle Tendency.
Battle Tendencies. And you know, in terms of the anime, those two parts were bundled together, right? And for a lot of people, especially me, like getting into the anime series, it was kind of weird because I didn't fully enjoy Phantom Blood, but there were some cool parts, but there were a lot of things that were kind of slow, and it only started really ramping up in Part 2. That's when I started like really, really enjoying the rest of the series, right? I loved Stardust Crusaders. I absolutely love Diamond Unbreakable. Golden Wind is one of my personal favorites. It's hard to choose between Part 4 and Part 5. Like, at least, you know, when we're talking about Parts 1 through 6. Stone Ocean, I think, was a pretty big departure in terms of cast, right? It's very...
I mean, literally...
it's very female-centric. The locations... You know when like you're talking about... Stardust Crusaders, as well as Battle Tendencies and Golden Wind. It's a journey, right? They start off one location.
It's a trek around the world, literally.
Whereas like Diamonds Unbreakable literally just stays in the town of Morioka.
Yep.
And this is kind of similar in that Jolene starts off in prison, and throughout the series, she pretty much stays in the prison. But we also don't realize... It's weird. The prison is... massive yet also claustrophobic at the same time, because there's so much danger everywhere, and it gives you a different sense of, you know, the kind of tension that the characters encounter chapter to chapter, and I would assume episode to episode.
And one of the things I love about Part 1 was the playground of the setting, right? Because okay, you're stuck here, how can we make this interesting, yet the sniper scene is so engrossing.
Before you go on, when Jason or I are referring to Part 1, Part 2, Part 3, we're talking specifically about Stone Ocean. We're not talking about Part 1, Battle of Phantom Blood, Part 2, Battle Tendencies, Part 3, Stardust Crusaders. We're talking about Parts 1, 2, and 3 of the Stone Ocean anime.
And technically, because, you know, it's stupid. Season 5 of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is Part 6, Stone Ocean, because Season 1 is Part 1 and Part 2 put together. So I'm just going to say Stone Ocean or Part 6, and then whenever I say Part 2 or 3, what I mean is within Stone Ocean, Qeeo 2 and Qeeo 3, as we said earlier.
As much as we don't want to do disclaimers, this one we have to do because
it's massive.
So confusing.
It's like Monogatari level of confusing. Okay, so... you were saying, so yeah, it was a playground, right? Of, you might think it's limiting, but in a way, it's like, because you're restricted in a certain manner, it's like, okay, then what are the confines? What rules can I bend but not break? And they do it so well.
Yeah.
And Part 2 is like, yo, so we're stuck in a prison, but what if we're just only stuck in a section of the prison for the whole part of Part 2 of Stone Ocean?
Yeah.
So it's like, to cut, and when we left off Part 1 of Stone Ocean, like the disc of was the Speedwagon with the dove, took the disc. You don't really know what's gonna happen to Jolene, except something bad in terms of the ramifications. Frogs came out of the fucking sky.
Yep.
So, like, holy shit. And then that massive, like, tense standoff between, you're gonna have to help me with the names. Well, like, Pale Snake? Is it what?
White Snake.
White Snake,
Yeah.
right. Who, turns out to be the main villain. I'll just say that. Okay? Also, enjoyed the cherry meme. That was pretty interesting.
Yep.
Okay, so, part 6 takes place right afterwards. So, it's like the consequences of what happened in season 1, you would think. I'm sorry, part 1. Not season 1, part 1. But it kind of doesn't. Again, I'll tell about it in spoilers, but it does take place only in a section of a wing. So it's like restricted.
Yep.
And then it's like within that part 2, it's like, what if we do like 5 battles back to back. And I'm just like, listen, FF is like MVP, bro. FF is my favorite character ever.
Foo Fighters.
Fucking love her. She's not my favorite character of all time, but she's like...
Within the context of Stone Ocean, right?
I mean, I still love Jolene, of course, but she's like the standout one. It's like how in part 4, everyone talks about Rohan Kishibe.
Yeah.
And I love Rohan Kishibe, but I love Hirose.
Yeah.
So that's how I feel about FF and like Jolene, for example. And also, weird shit, bro.
Are you still talking about part 2? Or
I'm still talking about part 2. Like, some really fucked up shit happens. Yeah. And I'm not talking like blood and gore violence, which is like allusion to how it's like part 3 is like even crazier. Part 2 is already like glimpses of like really like almost like we're talking about like Call of Cthulhu Lovecraftian horrific Junji Ito body horror. And you might be like, Jason, like, what the fuck are you talking about? And I can't really say other than, like, it's really fucked up. It's so fucked up. So fucked up. And at the same time, it's Jojo. Why does Jolie need to eat mushrooms on the side of her bed? Because it's Jojo. Why does water matter in a prison cell? Because it's Jojo.
I think the part that I like most about Stone Ocean is you've already seen it from you already seen it from parts 4, parts 5, but the amount of pop culture references in terms of their stands, like, dude, you get introduced to Limp Bizkit.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, even like some of the characters, Anna Sui, like big ass fashion Foo Fighters, motherfucker. You got fucking Vivian Westwood in there too as well, or whatever. Viviano Westwood, yeah, dude. Like, this is obviously not the main reason why everybody loves why a lot of people love JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, but having those in there, it's just like, I like that name. It's really cool, right?
Oh, I see what you did there.
Yeah.
If it weren't for copyright, I know what you're gonna do, right?
Except that sometimes whenever they have certain characters, like certain names as their stands have nothing to do with the original person or original group.
Yeah. But, like, did you like part 2, Will? Because if I look at the Mal score of, like, part 1, 2, and 3, part 1 is pretty high, part 2 is low, and then part 3 is, like, the exceeding one of the bunch.
I think, coming from a manga perspective, I enjoyed it throughout. I think there was never really like a massive dip in terms of quality, in terms of plot, in terms of characters. I think that, like, as they were adding more and more people into the cast, whether they be like supporting characters or villains or just ancillary characters, I always felt that, like, tensions were high.
Right.
Because the fact that they're already in a small confined space, and then part 2, where I think you left off, is moving into an even more confined space. But then this is also the part where you start learning about why certain people are there, why certain people are doing the things they're doing, and what they need to do to be able to find a balance in things so that they can not necessarily solve a mystery, but just get the fuck out of there and not die.
Yeah, and also one of the other 2 male, I guess, party members of Stone Ocean actually starts doing shit. Because in part 1, Anastasia, right, doesn't do pretty much anything, really. Or even says anything in part 1. Like
Anastasia or Anasui?
Anasui.
Yeah,
I think
Anasui.
Anastasia is like the copyright thing.
Oh, I know.
Yeah. Because in the subtitles they say Anastasia, so I was just like, okay, fine. Anna, sure. He doesn't even do shit in part 1. He's there.
Yeah.
But he doesn't. He purposely is like mute, doesn't say anything. But he is heavily involved in part 2 and 3. And Foo Fighter FF is also heavily featured in part 2. Fucking love her to death, or it to death, right? And it also features battles that are really weird. Because right off the bat, you get some out of space stuff, let's just say.
You get a lot of really weird, like, biochemical, a lot of really weird supernatural Cthulhu-esque stuff. I mean, like, there was that fight between Foo Fighters and... I can't believe I'm saying this. The fight between Foo Fighters and Yo-Yo Ma.
Okay, look, listen. Can I just say fucking thing? Look, we'll get into it in spoilers, but, like, Araki, bro, I need to talk to you, bro. Like, man to man. You did Yo-Yo Ma dirty, bro.
Also, that's not a sentence I would ever hope to say, that Foo Fighters are picking a fight with Yo-Yo Ma. That never happened in real life. It's just all anime, bro.
But you did Yo-Yo Ma dirty, Araki. Like, I don't hate you for it, but bro, you could have named it something else, bro. You chose Yo-Yo Ma, bro, for real. But okay, like, I get you.
Yo-Yo Ma is a G. All right,
Yeah,
stand up, literally, for Yo-Yo Ma.
His cello fucking takes a first class like seat. It's fucking crazy. Okay, anyways, back to Maximum Penitentiary Ward, Stone Ocean Part 2. Features probably one of the most interesting battles I have seen for several reasons. The first is about the Green Dragon, basically.
By the way, is this still non-spoiler, or...
I will just say it talks about a certain philosophy. Chinese Eastern philosophy is the way that the stand works. And I think what is interesting about that stand is that it's alignment, if you will. And you don't really see a lot of that. You see sometimes, like, I remember, was it in part 5, Golden Wind, there was the female... what's her name? The the boss's daughter that they're trying to protect, that gets Elastigirl.
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
But her Jojo, her stand. Sorry, not Jojo. She's not Jojo. Her stand talks, like communicates, which is like really odd.
You're talking about Trish.
Trish, yeah. So it's like, and really,
her stand is Spice Girl,
right? Like, it's like the rubber thing.
Yeah.
But she literally talks, which is like really weird, right? Because to my knowledge, almost not a lot of them communicate with the stand. So to have the Green Dragon stand be this of a certain alignment and of a certain dynamic with the humans in the battle is super interesting to me. Also, this is going to sound really weird, especially when we talk about even the non-spoiler section of part 3. But I think the scariest, by far the scariest thing, because it's the most relatable to me, is a battle that involves no fighting until the very end, but it's called the Mew Mew Lady. And that sequence of events is so innocuous, but it's so fucking frightening to me that if I were to experience that forever, I will lose my damn mind. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Do you think, like, that's just crazy? Because you end on that. And I think it's such an ingenious thing because it doesn't sound like a really crazy power. And a lot of these things that I love about Araki is how can you turn zippers in Golden Wind into, like, this really awesome thing? And I'm speaking also of the enemies, too. Like, their stands. Like, even if it's just, like, Monster of the Week type shit. It's quite innovative what they think, how Araki thinks about shit. In terms of how to maximize or navigate a power that even sounds so mundane or useless. I mean, there's literally a stand that was mentioned to be very useless. And when I think about it, I'm like, it is hella not useless at all.
I mean, a lot of the stands are like they get more and more creative.
Yeah.
In the beginning, it was very much like like you had Silver Chariot.
I have
right?
fire. I'm good with sword.
Yeah, and then it slowly becomes like I can make stickers that are able to split things in two.
Yeah, and
But
that's
when
not a spoiler because that's in part 1, bro.
But when I take the sticker off, they readjoin in their original condition, whether
Yeah.
or not it's physically possible.
Yeah, like, bro, like, so random, but like, fuck yeah, let's go, right?
You gotta wonder, like, in terms of like these, because you can tell, like, in terms of the character creation, in terms of like the design, like the clothing they wear, these, and also like muscular physique in the earlier parts of JoJo, you can definitely tell where Araki got his inspiration from. When it comes to like the stand powers, you're like, dude, this is like some ayahuasca shit. This is like you've taken a lot of drugs.
While wearing Versace.
You've definitely seen a lot of different realities to come up with this crazy bullshit.
Yeah, and you definitely spent a lot of time in Paris looking at like fashion walks and then being like, oh yeah, I like that.
I can imagine him like being in Paris, like sitting at a coffee shop and just getting a croissant and then just slowly like pulling it apart and then putting it back together, and pulling it apart, and putting it back together,
And it's like,
just start scribbling shit. Too.
Yeah.
You know?
well, that's actually a very good.
That's pretty.
That's a very good image.
That's
yeah.
probably like what Araki's thinking. It's like, what if I have a croissant, but it's dressed in velvet, and it can have zippers. Oh, but what do the zippers do? You know.
And here's the thing. I would just say Mew Mew is like the last part, the last quote unquote battle of part 2. That's not really spoilery because I'm only mentioning a name. I'm not even mentioning what happens, right? But it is so frightening to me and so tense, or like so. How do they overcome this like puzzle / battle? It reminds me of the Colosseum standoff scene in part 5, Golden Wind, where nobody moves but nobody knows who's who.
Yeah.
And then it reminds me of part 4 in Groundhog's Day with the kid.
Yep. Oh, that was a really good battle as well.
Like and Mew Mew, that battle, quote unquote, reminds me of that. And it is also, the ability is a thing that is so scary to me. Mm-hmm. And when, you know what I did?
I want to talk about it, but at the same time, it's like, I can't talk about it.
And do you know what I did? I did the psycho thing of like, okay, I'm going to rewatch that episode and see if they really stay true to the lore. And they fucking did. And I was just like, holy shit. Like, this is crazy. Like, Araki is fucking crazy. Okay?
I mean, what a way to end part 2, right?
Yep. Then, if you scroll down to our part 3 of what I wrote for our non-spoiler section.
It's just, what the fuck?
And that is all I'm going to say. Because I literally cannot actually say anything almost that won't be a spoiler. Other than to say, what the fuck?
Yeah.
All over the place. What the fuck? What the fuck? In fact, originally, instead of one big what the fuck, I was going to spam that whole page with just what the fuck, but it made me look like a psycho. So I was just like...
You would just be Rohunki Shibe at that point.
Yeah. And I think but one thing I do want to mention is, I think you have definitely mentioned it like on other episodes, and it is a spoiler, but it's also through osmosis that I think you would know, dear listeners, or if you're into the JoJo verse, or you even know anything, you know that part 6, and then you know part 7 exists. Like, that's not a spoiler. You know there's a part 7. But you know in between there, something very significant happens.
Yeah.
And I'll try my best to be cryptic about it before, but we'll go into it in spoilers. But the ramifications of it, that's what I want to talk to you about. Because you read part 7.
Yep.
You know what is going to be next in line to be adapted because we know it's going to be adapted. It's just a matter of when, right? I still can, and I didn't want to like read up on it, check forums, and I know I'm being cryptic and spending a lot of time, but I'm trying to dance around it.
I know, because it's a very, very pivotal moment, not just in part 6 Stone Ocean, but overall the whole JoJo series. I get why you're trying to dance around it.
And it is so mind-bending that, like, I can literally spend, like, half an hour being cryptic about it and still be, like, just as interested to talk about it.
Yeah, the only thing I can do to answer that question about your thoughts and feelings about parts 3 is, I guess you'll have to wait for Steel Ball Run Part
Right.
7 to get adapted, or for when you decide to read that manga.
But you can at least give me your interpretation of part 6, right? I mean, when we get to spoilers.
What I think, and I mean, of course, like I'm coming from a manga perspective, right?
Yes,
and
yes.
people already knew well ahead of time, like why certain things happened in part 6 that led to part 7.
And that was interesting to me because of course I knew that because of IRL events and just like osmosis, right? But if I just watch it, it is like a very weird thing because I literally would not know what is going on and what to expect next.
Yeah. I think that this part of the discussion will be best left for the spoiler. And unfortunately, I think that it will also be like not just a massive spoiler to people who are listening who already know about it, but because you haven't read or watched part 7, because part 7 is not animated and you haven't read the manga, I have to be pretty careful on what I say as well.
That's why I'm giving you like forewarning, and also that's why I didn't want to read into like, end of Stone Ocean explained, because I want to go in as, I mean, I'll probably do it after recording, right? But I want to do it. I want to be as fresh with my actual own perspective before I go seeking answers from outside sources who obviously would know more than I do.
We're probably going to be seeing part 7 Steel Ball Run get animated end of next year, maybe in the middle of 2026.
But they didn't announce it yet, right?
They haven't announced it yet, no. But usually it's like a 3 to 4 year gap between each part. So if you're going by that trend, I would expect something within the next 2 years. If not, then it's probably because, well, there might be a reason. And I would need to talk to you about that in the spoiler section.
I will only say what the fuck about part 3. That's it.
Yep.
Just to keep it condensed. So that is... I know that sounds so weird, but trust me when I say that is all I can literally say without going into spoilers about part 2 and part 3, because it is so within the Jojo verse, it is so monumental of a shift, if you will, that I literally cannot say anything else.
And it has implications for future JoJos as well. So that's why we have to be pretty tight-lipped about it.
And also affects IRL events, or actually IRL events affected. Anyways, okay.
Yep.
Now, non-spoiler section for SAO Alicization War of Underworld, not War of the Underworld, which I made a mistake last time.
Yeah, I mean, doesn't matter. Let's just say War of Underworld.
Cool.
Okay, so this follows shortly after the end of Alicization, where we've talked about Kirito, we've talked about Alice, we've talked about Yu-Gi-Oh! They just got done fighting, in the first part, the big bad, the administrator. Right? But this is not without consequence, because whilst this is all happening within the world of Alicization, there's also a real-life battle happening IRL.
Yeah, it's like Inception, but rather than all of it being dreams, it's like just multiple layers, right?
Yeah. And so, just to sort of recap what happened at the last episode of Alicization, Kirito essentially defeats, with a lot of help, manages to sort of defeat the administrator, but through doing so, has been cut off. They end up not being able to save Kirito in time. He does manage to save the world of Alicization, but because of that, it's scrambled his brain. He goes through some sort of weird amnesiac episode. He's been rendered into a doll, right? He can only respond in hums and ha's,
like a comatose state, if you will.
Pretty
right?
much.
Yeah.
He's fully conscious, but he's also not fully there either.
So we're not actually into talking about War of Underworld. This is like the pretext, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So this then leads into, now because of the fact that Kirito is in this comatose catatonic state, Alice is now responsible for, she takes on the responsibility of protecting him. But as she does that, she also knows that whilst they've taken care of the administrator, that was one major roadblock for them. But it was also a major roadblock for the IRL enemy.
Right.
And that means now the next part of their fight is about to begin. Now, remember, because this is a simulated virtual reality world, things happen a whole lot faster in that world than in IRL.
Time dilation, essentially. Yeah.
Every second that happens in the real world amounts to anywhere from like 1 to 10 years in the world of Alicization.
But is it fixed? It's just we don't know the rate. Okay, if you can't answer that, then don't.
It's fixed because that's how it's written in the program.
Right.
But
So it's a
what if they can change? What if they can change the program?
Oh, God, fucking goddamn it. Okay,
Right?
so
everything is just zeros and ones.
as listeners know from last time we talked about Alicization, all I know about Alicization is the positive reception of people who abandoned SAO are coming back,
Or they
for
or they just straight up firebombed it, like in terms of the ratings, right? They just did not like SAO2 and were ready to give it up.
That's me.
Yeah.
That's me. I gave it all up, and then Alicization happened. My friend was like, "Bro, you got to get on that." I'm like, "Bullshit! It's not. It's SAO, bro." Then it really seems like a monumental shift, and then you are in that camp now too. So I don't know anything about War of Underworld. I will be spoiled by proxy because we will be in the spoiler section, but I'm also like really giddy just to know, because I think part of it, as you said, was like it felt like Fate Stay Night.
Yeah.
So sure, you can spoil like who wins the battle or like who fights.
Oh, I think you know who wins. It's more just how they get there in the first place.
And I
right?
think those kinds of choreography, all that, like the journey, cannot be spoiled. It's like you can still watch it knowing how it will end up and still be like satisfied.
Yeah. What I will say about Alicization, War of Underworld, is that, I mean, the characters are still awesome, right? The problem that I have with it, though, is the writing is still good. The pacing kind of has some issues, though,
Okay.
where there are some parts that drag on a bit too long, and there are some parts I feel were a little bit neglected. Like, there are some characters that definitely get introduced, and you know or you feel that they should be a lot more pivotal, but then they kind of show up and then just whimper.
Is it because they're probably more covered in the source?
It's because they're not a main character.
Oh my god.
That's
They're a red shirt?
Yeah.
Okay. So, a War of Underworld, for me, for example, with Stone Ocean Part 2 and 3, the reason why I separate it is not because of just the mal entries, but because actually separating it is quite important.
Yeah.
War of Underworld is also split into Part 1 and Part 2. I think it was a split curse system.
Yep. Total of 2 curs.
So, is there actually a big difference between the tone or the shift or the characters in Part 1 and Part 2? Or is it just more like they just had to split it due to a production issue or whatnot, or timing?
So, I think the way that it was split was, as the title would allude to, you know that there's going to be a massive war within the underworld of Alicization, right?
No shit.
Okay.
Spoilers, right?
Oh, shit. Right? So I think what separates the two is that the first half, which is 12 episodes, right, essentially is the reconvening of all the characters that are important for this particular war.
So getting the gang back together okay.
And then part 2 is seeing all that bullshit unfold.
Why did you say bullshit?
Because you'll have to hear what I have to say
fair. Okay.
in the spoiler section.
Got it. So basically, it's like, let's prep for the war, and then part 2 is the bullshit war.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it.
I mean, it's a whole lot of bullshit.
Okay. Can I ask?
And I mean bullshit in the sense that like it's crazy, it doesn't make sense, but it's also like captivating. But there's some shit that just you don't vibe with, but then there's also things that like more than make up for the bad vibes.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you a series of questions, not even knowing the answer, but it's not necessarily spoilery. So, do you like, in general, War of Underworld?
Yeah, I do.
Do you think it is better than Alicization?
No.
Do you think that knowing that there's obviously more stuff,
and God knows when those are going to be released.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, progressive and all that stuff, right? But like, there is like a continuation, right? Obviously, after this.
I mean, like the original like web novel or web manga was run from 2002 to 2008, and then from 2009 till now, they're still doing all the light novel stuff.
Right.
So who knows how much longer they're going to be running SAO for?
So basically, there's more stuff, right? Just like
there will be.
Just like how like I know that there's a part 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever of Jojo, right? So did it end well? basically War of Underworld? Was it satisfying, or was it more like, hey, get ready for the next one that you don't know when it's gonna show up?
I mean, it ended the way you would expect it to.
Which is,
But
it's not bad, right?
Well, I lie. There is
you just self-doubt yourself like so fast, bro. No.
okay.
If it's
Okay,
spoilery, then
the end to the Alicization arc is what you would expect, but the final episode, just like how you were asking about how certain things transpire in Part 6 Stone Ocean and what that means for the rest of the series, the last couple of episodes also allude to something even crazier happening in the world of SAO.
so is it a really big cliffhanger?
It's not so much a cliffhanger, it's more just a
What the fuck?
yeah,
Okay.
it's a what the fuck moment.
So
I think we're approaching the point where, I mean, we've only been talking for half an hour, by the way. But I think because
and this is the problem when you get to the point where it's like the end of the line in terms of the GWEA, and it just so happens that on the number 10 GWEA, we didn't plan this, like we didn't like knew about this 2.5 years ago, but we timed it such that Part 6 of Stone Ocean, Jojo Stone Ocean Part 6, it's like a massive monumental shift.
Yeah.
And then now you're saying SAO War of Underworld, massive monumental shift for the rest of the IP.
yeah, the thing is with JoJo Part 6 Stone Ocean, I know what happens in Stillwell Run Part 7.
I don't even know what happens in Alicization.
I also know what happens in Part 8, which is JoJo Leon or JoJo Lion. I haven't read that one yet. But just like you, I don't know what the fuck's going to happen with SAO, but I've watched enough of War of Underworld to kind of have an idea of where things are going, and I'm kind of ready for it, but I don't want to get ahead of myself too much.
Like don't want to set your expectations too high.
I don't want to be Charlie and start connecting dots.
Okay.
You know?
Okay. Fair. And you don't obviously
That's
want
a Philly, Always Sunny in Philadelphia reference in case you didn't get that.
Charlie Day.
Yeah.
And also you don't want to spoil yourself online,
exactly.
right?
I don't want to like over theorize,
Right, because the answer is literally out there. Just like for me, I will literally, and the rest of the internet for the most part knows the answers that I want the question I'm asking. But
Yeah.
I also am not going to do that.
Yep.
But
You may find out though when we do our spoiler discussion for JoJo Stone Ocean Part 6.
But it sounds like, based on what you said about War of Underworld, that you are kind of at the very minimal conflicted and at the very most pissed off at the way things transpired. Is that accurate?
No. When I said everything is bullshit, I
Yeah.
don't mean it in the negative sense. I mean
Oh.
at all. I mean as in like
Oh, my bad.
There's some real fucked up things that happen that are awesome, but also like really, really messed up, and you kind of feel bad for whoever. Yeah. So it's not bad.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because I thought like the cliffhanger ending, I thought like the bullshit, when you said bullshit, it just gave me
I mean, like when we talk about SAO, like what do you expect would happen? Oh, it's about Kirito, and he's like the black swordsman, and he dresses in black, and he's really good at flinging a sword. What's gonna happen? Oh, the same old Kirito bullshit, you know?
If it becomes this Star Ocean, you know, the JRPG Star Ocean?
Yes.
If it becomes like the Star Ocean twist, which if you don't know what I'm talking about, it's a staple within the JRPG line of a series called Stone Ocean, blah, 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 Stone Ocean. They always do something that is... I'm not going to spoil that just in case, you know. But they always do this thing where the tipping point and then that same twist happens. Okay. Does that happen?
I don't know. I didn't play Star Ocean.
Shit. Okay. Anyways. All right. So, will you endorse War of Underworld, just like how you endorse Alicization, just not as hot, right?
I think that when you hear how I break down War of Underworld versus Alicization, you'll probably understand as to why I came to that conclusion. It's still great. It's still a wonderful way to wrap up the Alicization arc.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know what direction they're going to go in next or how grand the scale is, because
or the ramifications.
Exactly. Every time, every season you go into SAO, it's always like a new virtual world, a new real world war that's happening, a new conflict between two different characters,
a new game,
and
or
then those
something,
characters then bleed in their conflict into the virtual world, which then has an effect on the real world, and then the real world does some other bullshit, which then affects what happens on the bullshit down there too. It's all bullshit, but somebody's got to clean it up, and that's Kirito's job, or whoever else is working with Kirito.
And just how we are going to clean up the non-spoiler section, we are going to go off into our break. And then when we come back, we are probably going to spend a lot of time going into the nitty-gritty spoilers of both Jojo, Stone Ocean, and also Alicization, War of Underworld. What's up, everybody? Sorry, I just didn't look into the mic. But what you're looking into is the abyss of potential spoilers. That is JoJo Part 6, Stone Ocean, as well as SAO Alicization, War of Underworld. Will, how are we going to tackle this, my man?
I'm going to correct you because you said potential spoilers. No, we're spoiling the fuck out of everything.
Oh,
not just what happens in Part 2 and Part 3 of Stone Ocean. We're going to go all over JoJo because there's going to be a lot of interconnectability there. And I'm also going to be wiping the slate clean and telling you everything that fucking happens in War of Underworld within Alicization.
So you have been warned, but which beast are we going to tackle first? Because this is actually quite a dilemma, actually, in my opinion.
Well, I think we can talk about JoJo first.
Okay.
Because of the fact that both of us have watched it, even though that I've read the manga, you watched the anime, but at least I think there's a lot of questions you might want to ask, and I think that tackling those first would be pretty good.
Because it's known for you, not only for Stone Ocean, but you also know, Part 7, right?
Yeah,
okay, that's fair.
I am the oracle here, except that I also need to keep tight-lipped about certain things because I don't want to,
Man,
I don't want to release the sauce.
I used to have that oracle license with Monogatari, but now I lost it.
Well, I mean, this time around it's not fair, right? Because
right.
I mean, I've read all of JoJo,
right?
Minus JoJo Leon and whatever else is coming afterwards.
So
JoJo Worlds.
One thing I will ask is, do you want to split the spoiler section of Part 2 and Part 3?
Oh, because I think whatever works best. If you want to do it part by part, or if you want to just ask questions about certain characters.
I want to do part by part because to me there is a very distinct difference.
Okay, go for it.
So right now, spoilers for JoJo Stone Ocean Part 2 or Cur 2.
All right, Jason, what do you want to know about?
So that feng shui thing, I fucking think it's kind of dope that happened. I think having a neutral stand is kind of weird, bro.
I mean, a lot of the stands in this are, I think even just if you talk about characters in general within JoJo's Part 6, you don't really necessarily know what their alignment is. You don't really know if they're friend or foe. You don't know if
they're usually controlled by the stand user, right?
Yeah. So I mean,
not all of them.
I mean, more specifically, sometimes the stand users, you're not entirely sure what their intentions are. You're not entirely sure if they're good or evil.
I mean, particularly
the worst ones are the ones that are bipartisan, where they're literally in the middle. Because easily you could be thinking they could just be working for the enemy, or they could also be helping me but backstabbing the last minute, or maybe they are evil and then they just come to mind. You have no fucking clue.
But the feng shui one is legit true neutral, bang smack neutral in the middle.
Yeah,
I ain't gonna help or hurt anybody. I'm just telling it as it is. And the hilarious part of all this is, as someone who, born and raised in Hong Kong and quite through osmosis knows at least a little bit more about feng shui, it's just I kind of dig it, but at the same time I'm thinking how is your average American guy or gal gonna figure this shit out and know the opposite direction and all that stuff? And to them, I think it loses a bit of significance, because how that the opposite direction with FF and how the opposite direction means like the opposite of chi and stuff.
Yeah.
Like we literally will. We live in Hong Kong where one of the most most major building, HSBC building, has a literal fake cannon to shoot out all this bad spirits. We have a Repulse Bay like condo with a square.
Don't even talk about major buildings. Anytime a company moves into a new building, anytime someone buys a new apartment, the first thing they do is hire a feng shui master and spend tens of thousands of dollars,
millions,
to figure out where to place the sofa, in which direction the sofa is facing. Should the TV be against the wall or should it be against the window? Are you going to have coins that are going to be hiding underneath a cabinet to essentially spread wealth across your building and whatnot?
And
like, those things are like, for me, I never understood it. I never bought into it, but I know loads of people that take that shit incredibly seriously, to the point where like at my old job, we moved offices like 2-3 times, and each time one of my bosses would introduce their go-to feng shui master to bless and
or figure shit out, exactly. The orientation, the alignment, or here put stuff there. Like,
you got to have a portrait with 9 horses, and all the horses have to be running towards one direction to show where like where your wealth is going to be moving towards.
Now, whether you believe in these stuff or not, it's not in my place to question your believability or not. But the one thing I will say is a lot of people take it very seriously, and to see it happen in a jail like ward and have it unfold the way it did is almost only applicable to people such as you and I with this kind of knowledge and background that I think a lot of people outside of Asia especially will not appreciate as much, and I feel like that's a shame.
I think it's
like it still did its job, but
you definitely lose that layer, but I think like the battle that ensues from it is more than enough to make up for it.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, the fact that like you have this Kenzo, this cult leader, who has a stand that allows for him to use feng shui to optimally like create like the perfect conditions to lay out an attack, and then like, of course, oh dude, like it's just luck, right? Whatever. And then fucking FF gets her head sliced open.
Yep.
Right? Like,
yep. And then let's not talk about the trees and the green baby. Okay, the green baby? Fuck the green baby. I think that whole thing is stupid. I think Yo-Yo Ma is stupid in terms of like...
Again, we're talking about Jojo Yo-Yo Ma. We're not talking about the celloist Yo-Yo Ma, okay?
Yeah, we're not about the cellist. He's cool. Like, fucking dope-ass guy. I'm talking about the stand
he still lives
Yo-Yo
in
Ma.
Boston, right?
Boston?
No, he lives in Massachusetts. I don't think he lives... I think he lives in Cambridge.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, not Boston, but still in Massachusetts.
I do know Cambridge pretty well.
Yeah.
But bro, like, and like when the green baby with Anastasia and Jolene and the bottle and the rock and everything, I'll be very honest, that part really lost me. I was so into it with like the ward and the FF and how she almost died, but not really. And then all of a sudden, this green baby thing happened. I'm just like, what the fuck is this? Of course, then the final showdown happened to wrap up part 2. Was fucking dope, right? But there was like a good 2-3 episodes of uselessness to me that I felt like was just so aggravating and frustrating.
I mean, that's probably why of the 3 parts, it's the lowest rated one. And there was probably that was probably one of the points of frustration for people.
Yeah. And
I thought it was okay, but then I didn't have to like play it out over 25 minutes over 3-4 episodes. I just read it and then skipped through certain things to get to the good parts.
Yeah, it was so aggravating, right? But I also felt like, oh, we're at that point where I'm not going to fast forward, right? I don't want to miss out because this is like we're near the end of the part, right? So it's going to be important, the showdown, right? It's going to build up. So I was like, oh fuck, right? But it was excruciating. One thing I will say though, Mew Mew, bro. Bruh. Listen.
What was going through your mind when you were just
Memento?
Seeing this particular fucking
Memento
power? Because a lot of times it's like time based or it's like action based, where it's like if I create something, it'll come to life, or if I just set certain things in motion, after 5 seconds, this thing's going to happen. 10 seconds, this thing's going to happen. Or like I have like trap stands, or I have like reactionary stands.
Yeah, or like I'm going to do this maneuver, but then you're like, I predicted that maneuver and I'm going to do this. And I'm like, oh, I predicted what you're going to predict, so I'm going to do this. Yeah.
Perfect. you can't predict shit anymore because you're gonna forget everything.
No, you can only remember.
Yeah, you basically, once you've predicted 3 times, the 4th time you predict, you've lost the first one, and now you're back to square one because you've lost the root of your problem solving.
Dude, when Imperio electrocutes himself constantly, I was in so much pain watching it. Like, not in like, oh, this is like this is bad quality or bad, Jojo. It was like, dude, just come on, please.
Well,
like,
nobody ever wants to see someone get tortured, whether or not it's realistic or
it's
if
by
it's
their
animation,
own doing. And it's like right there, right? And it's like trying to figure it out, but because he tries to figure it out, so then he forgets that he's trying to figure it out. And I'm just like, oh my God, because we've all been in those moments where like something is on the tip of our tongue, or I was just gonna do something, but then you've
definitely walked into a room and then forgotten what you walked into the room for.
Or even like us talking about something, I'd be like, I forgot the point I was trying to make, and that feeling sucks.
Yeah, where this now, it's like, yeah, we've all done that, but we haven't been in a situation where we forgot something we could potentially die.
And here's the thing, of all of like, even if we just look at Stone Ocean, there are so many powers that technically are way more like crazier in scale and damage and impact, but this one was the most scariest to me.
I mean, like when you mentioned in the notes about how there were certain parts that felt very Cthulhu-esque, it's definitely like kind of dropping into like that realm of insanity, of futility, where like no matter what you do, you don't know, and you may never know if you are able to succeed.
I mean, when literally Anastasia turns one of the feng shui guy with legs as springs, like that's grotesque. That's Junji Ito body horror type shit. That's fucked up, bro. Like, I'm not saying fucked up as in like you crossed the line. I'm saying it as in like, dude, that's disgusting. But like, I'm not in like I'm disgusted and grossed out, but in like, bro, you went there, like, holy shit, right? And then part 3 happened, but then I was like, okay. But at that point, I was just like, oh shit, right?
So that's the thing with part 2. As I'm reading like the synopsis of how those episodes broke down, right? You had Green Baby, you had Jailhouse Lock, which is the power.
The Mew Mew.
Yeah, then you also have Yo-Yo Ma.
Yeah,
right? But that all
before the Mew Mew.
But that all happens within 12 episodes. More often than not, when you're looking at like the previous JoJo's, it's like almost every single episode was like a new flavor of the week, a new big bad, and then there was only later on that like maybe some of the stand users, the enemy ones, they go over 2 episodes, like the gaming one that we had in part 3.
I love that.
Right. Whereas this, it's very essentially focused on 3 big bads over the course of 12 episodes. Some of them having like 2 episodes to the spotlight, some of them having 4.
I even think like the tunnel in part 4. Highway to Hell.
Yes,
that was like so good. It was a good 1 episode thing. Okay, they killed or overcome it. Fine, whatever. But it was like really awesome. It was like condensed, right? But here it's like, I like when I was watching, like, not really spoiler, but in Netflix, when you see like the episode titles like bracket 1,
yeah,
and you're just like, oh shit, here we go, bro. And then it's like that for every single like part. So it's not just monster of the week now. It's like monster of 2-3 weeks. It's just like, oh my God. So
what was going through your mind then when you were going over all these episodes, like focusing on like one specific character over the course of 4? Like, for example, like, you had that thing about the baby in the invisible baby in part 4. You had the thing about
what's it with Araki and babies?
Then there's also like the magnetic bond of part 3, where I think it was one of the JoJos, the Grandpa JoJo and the other guy, their hips couldn't separate.
Oh yeah, and then like homoerotic posturing.
Yeah. But like those happen. All those things happen like contained within 1 episode. Whereas like your disdain or your indifference towards Green Baby was like that was over like 3 episodes.
Yeah.
And do you think that
I wouldn't say it's disdain. It was an indifference.
Yeah.
Because ultimately the concept of you getting smaller and smaller and smaller the closer you get to it, such that you turn into nothing.
Yeah.
Is so cool. But then you kind of it was hard to follow with like, oh, and then I got into the bottle and then you didn't. I was like, bro, you lost me. You lost me. And I was just like, and then I'm out.
Yeah, no, there's definitely certain stand battles that like just work really well contained in one episode, and then there are some that like definitely need like 2 or even 3-parters. I think Green Baby was one of those that like just played out a bit too long. I don't remember it going that long in the manga. I remember it being very tense.
No, because the tree thing, the tree people, and then they get the baby, and the baby gets attached to Jolene, and then Yo-Yo Ma with that thing and his whole monologue thing. Again, we're talking about the stand, not the cellist. It's just like, this is so aggravating. Just get on with it already.
I mean, do you think they managed to save that part with Mew Mew?
Well, yeah, and also with the showdown with the priest, right? Yeah. Like when it all wraps up, then it's pretty awesome, right? But to get there, it was excruciating.
The priest, you're talking about Poochie, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, bro, I love him as a villain. He's not Kira level, but I think in some ways I would put Dio below Kira and Poochie.
Oh, no.
I think Dio will always be number 1 because of his status, his meme, his power.
I mean, not to mention as well, he existed as the main big bad for 3 parts, right?
And his sheer insanity that even though he's technically not alive anymore, even if you discount the flashbacks, right? Mm-hmm. His significance is so palpable that like it's undeniable. But if I'm talking like just strictly like humans, right?
I mean, these are definitely. I mean, like, Kira was just an insane
like 4D chess player
who also has like he has like 420 like wrinkly brain IQ. But with Poochie, he's a follower. He just wants to continue the doctrine of Dio.
Like when there was a moment in part 2 when there was like a flashback, right? In which it's a bit homoerotic, but I don't give a shit, right? When Dio is like, "Oh, bro, you literally don't care about fame or wealth or like sex or like any of that. You just simply are like just devout. You're just simply as is. You're the perfect embodiment of a follower." Like even I was like, bro, that's fucking crazy as a villain or as a protagonist. If you're so singular, like that makes Jolene so ferocious because it's like, or Jotaro's like, you're singularly like dedicated to this one thing that you will do whatever it takes. It's so scary. Okay. One thing I will say about part 2 that also goes into part 3. The theme of destiny, the theme of fate, the theme of changing what is meant to be or what's not meant to be plays way more of a part than I thought in not only when we get to part 3, but then in terms of what it means for the Jojo verse. And now, let's get into part 3 spoilers.
Whilst that's happening, I'm going to turn off the AC because it's getting really cold in here.
Yeah? Well, this conversation is about to get heated as fuck. I got it.
Okay, that was enough time to get over our little spoiler check for part 3.
Do you want to like lower the temperature?
I guess just turn it off for the next hour because.
Okay, got it. Okay, all right. Now, so in the non-spoiler section, I said, "What the fuck," right? So now let's get to why.
Yeah. So they were in jail, and then afterwards, well, they were already in jail. They were like in a correctional facility, but then now they're on their jailbreak essentially. They're getting the fuck out of there.
Yeah, and then let's go to space, or the Space Center.
Yep. Poochie makes his way over to the Kennedy Space Center, in Cape Canaveral. That's the next destination in JoJo Part 6.
So, almost all of the battles are fucking crazy. Because okay, I'm not going in order. I'm just going by recollection, right? The first one that really is like crazy to me, that is just so crazy, is Versus. About the plane crashing, and then like how he can excavate memories, and also when they manage to find like the 2 seats that survives the 2 survivors of that plane crash, putting literal children. Dude, that's fucked up, bro. That's so fucked up to like fuck with someone's morality and sense of justice and purpose. It's so conniving and evil.
Yeah, I think like even like some of the characters start going through like weird hallucinations as well. Like Anna Sui being able to see like Pinocchio and the Seven Dwarfs and the Big.
Oh
Bad
yeah, I haven't
Wolf.
even gotten to that part yet, right?
I mean, that was literally first. That was the first episode of part 3. Yeah, like
so like
I mean, I can see why you're doing the what the fuck.
So here is what the fuck Matrix Final Destination grim fairy tale Lovecraftian horror gore and violence are we talking about in part 3? End of the world apocalyptic type shit, okay? First of all, gravity. Let's just talk about gravity real quick, right? The gravity on the side thing or like upside down is literally like a nightmare I've had before of like, well, what if you fall upwards forever or you fall vertical forever? Is like really fucked up. Then you have a stand where it inverts. That's fucked up. That's really fucked up. That's super fucked up. Like, bro. Like, what the fuck? Then it goes to like part 3 Dio level of no, not part 3. When was Dio was the world?
That was part 3.
Part 3 of like just I'm just gonna run over like 80 people. Right? Here, it's like Highway Final Destination 2 type level of carnage. And it's obviously way more than that, right? When they do the acceleration of time. But it's just like, holy fuck, this is not what I thought Jojo would end up coming towards when it gets to like the finality of it all. But yet it's kind of appropriate, and I was glued to the screen. Well, not the screen, but you know what I mean, right? Like, I was in it. It's fucked up. I also don't understand weather forecast.
Weather forecast.
And heavy weather. Like, I don't understand. Why does Jolene care so much about him?
I mean, is he an ally?
Yeah. But like...
I mean...
FF was an ally?
I mean, if you haven't noticed, friends and allies are far and few between in this the little jail cell. Yeah, like, she needs all the help she can get because of all the odds are stacked against her.
When... The only thing I cared about with Weather Machine is that I did not care about him. I don't understand why the heavy weather with the subliminal message and the snail stuff is so... What the fuck is this? Also, during that hospital scene, Jolene says one line, literally one line, that talks about, like, snails having sex or something. Mm-hmm. And then she literally utters only one line, and then that was it of, like, oh, I wish that was me. Oh, wait, I need to get back. I need to be serious now. I'm like, bro, why did you need to say that? Like, what the fuck? It's like the bitch thing in like part 3, where it's just like,
I mean, they're still teenagers. If you have to remember that.
Fair,
I mean,
but it's like
she was also like strip searched and anal probed in like the first couple episodes.
No, but like you were in a do or die situation, and as a viewer, you took me out of it. With just that one line, then all of a sudden you surfed your way out of there, and that was it. Also, the snail thing was never explained, and I guess you don't need to explain it, but it's just like, why? Like, why? Why is that like a big thing? I don't understand either. But what I think is really fucked up, talking about like destiny, dilemma, fate, is the whole Poochie, Perla, Weather Machine backstory.
Yeah,
it's so fucked up. It is so fucked up, bro.
I mean, maybe that's probably why, like, you know, Weather Machine or Weatherman, like, weather forecasts, he's just called Weather.
Let's just call Weather.
His death is a bit, you know, sad because he was already connected to the big bad to begin with, seeing that they're, you know, brothers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I fully expected this from you.
I mean, the battle scene with like the blood spikes was fucking awesome. Like the battle was cool, but like the whole thing to get there was very for me. The snail thing was like, it's like this weird side thing that is just really dumb. It's like being encumbered. It's like, I don't think that's helpful or useful for the story.
You're doing the same thing of when things are really highly rated, you have to shit on it, and then when things are not nearly as high rated, you have to give it some backing.
I don't know, but no, but that's how I feel.
I mean, no, but that's also like par for the course. You've done that for every part. Like dude, we've been doing this for 2.5 years. I know exactly what you mean, and it does not make sense, but here we are.
Okay. Now, let's talk about oomiee. That is like the polar contrast of how I feel about weather forecast. Because when oomiee all of a sudden just got quote unquote killed, you're like, oh shit, fuck, a homie, what the fuck. Then she came back, and how she came back was with the stickers. I'm just like, fuck yeah, let's fucking go with Jotaro's like daughter and father. Like fuck yeah, like it was hype, and that's like the polar opposite. And I don't really like Anastasia as a character in terms of like his infatuation with Jolene, but I'm like,
First of all, it's Anasui.
Yeah. But yeah, sure. It's like, sure, you do your thing. Awesome. Fine. You're kind of I love your ability. And like what he does in his heroic sacrifice in the end was pretty dope too. But it's just like, and I also thought his proposal was like kind of dumb, but kind of appropriate at the same time. But it was like it evens out. So it's like a good character still. Imperial, still a good character. And also baller ass way to end fucking the most OP reality bending stand in history at the moment.
You're talking about Poochie's final form, or
yeah, white maiden or something.
You mean Made in Heaven?
Made in Heaven, which is like hilarious. Okay, I see what you did there with the words, right? But like, it's so awesome because he picked the jail as like the place to corner him, and yet that was his demise. Like he was fated to lose. And it's just so crazy because literally that power is reality breaking, like world ending. And yet all it took was a child with ingenuity. All it took was like Jolene's faith in one kid to change the course of Jojo-verse history at that moment. It's fucking crazy. So, then comes the ramifications of that.
Yep.
Which is, the part is like the hardest thing to comprehend and understand because it not only factors IRL stuff, but it's like trying to piece it all together. So I'm going to tell you how I interpret or how I know of the situation.
Right. You're talking about the final episode, right?
Yeah, which is called It's a Wonderful World. So
What a Wonderful World or It's a Wonderful World. I guess depends on which version you watch.
Right. So everything resets. Okay? Right? But Imperial obviously remembers everything.
Yep.
And then the moment he defeats Father Pucci, is like, he's then all of a sudden magically transported to the highway where he basically meets everyone, but with different identities and names and relationships. And it's like as if everyone has no memory except of what has occurred, but they're in a new timeline. So it's like a reset. I also know in real life, Araki was, I don't know if it was, he feels like it was going stale or he needed a reset or he couldn't keep up, the Jojo Dio storyline and feud, that he needed like to press the literal reset button, like the Matrix Architect reset button kind of thing.
I think you pretty much nailed on the head there.
So
that's pretty much what it is. I mean, I want to hear your 2 cents first, and then I'll chime in.
So here's the thing. I don't understand. There was a moment where Imperial still sees Jolene with the star.
Yep.
The Jojo star.
Yep.
So clearly the birthmark is there.
Yep.
So that to me is obviously done deliberately.
That's not Jolene anymore.
Irene. Okay,
yeah.
fine. So that leads me to certain assumptions. Either because the reality, it's a new universe, new timeline or whatever, people don't know what stands are yet, but the bloodline and the lineage, just because fate and destiny, war never changes, and I guess Jojo never changes at the end of the day.
Every single timeline, every single universe, reality always has a Jojo, and it always has a Dio.
Right. And that is also, that's why the theme of destiny and fate and being able to change what shouldn't be able to be changed or human history with Father Pucci almost makes him like a savior, despite his egotistical, twisted way of like, oh, if everyone knows their future, then they can prepare for it. I'm like, bro, you are actually the savior of the Jojo verse, but not in that way.
I mean, it depends on how you choose to interpret
exactly
his fanaticism, right?
Right. I think it's bad, but actually, what he did inadvertently was good. If that makes any sense.
If you think about like a lot of major villains in stories, right? A lot of them have like the modus operandi, but actually, when you really break it down, were they really villains or were they just doing things that saved the world just in a very, very not so cool way? Like, the easiest example would be Thanos from the Marvel series, right?
Like the snap,
right? Like in the end, like yes, it's true. Overpopulation is a problem. Lack of resources is a problem. Yes, what he did was fucked up by destroying half the world's population, but he did manage to also, stop overpopulation.
It reminds me of the Dark Knight of like he's willing to take the burden that we are all not willing to shoulder.
Yeah.
And it's so weird for me to say this because I should have said this about Dio, but I can't because that's not what he wants.
No.
That's what Father Pucci wants with the vision of Dio in him. And that's why I think it puts me up in some hierarchical terms above Dio because it's like him, but in a practical and almost in a way, a very poetic, elegant way of resetting heaven or a definition of heaven.
Yeah. But guess what? Just like Dio, he also fails.
Yeah, correct.
Right.
So, going back to it, either, as you said, in every single universe, there's always a Dio or a Jojo, right? But either they haven't discovered the standability yet, or because of the divergence in timeline, the bloodline lineage still exists, but stands don't exist anymore. Which I know is like, I could definitely easily find out the answer to that question, and I probably already know the answer deep down, but it's still a question. Then comes the third thing of, okay, then is it just a birthmark? As like, it is like a way to remember by, because literally right after like everyone goes off their merry way and then they pick up, weather forecast as a hitchhiker, they play fucking Roundabout.
Mm-hmm.
The first original ED, and then they do the JoJo Star thing, and literally the silhouette of every single JoJo part. So it's clearly the end of whatever this saga is.
This timeline, yeah.
Yeah. So then it becomes like, so Imperial is kind of like the oracle that knows everything. But then it's like, well, what of the world, right? Literally, what is going to happen? Because right now, the only person or the only people that know the real thing is in the universe is Imperial, at least to our knowledge, and us as the viewers.
You've answered your question.
What?
Imperial is you.
Okay.
You are Imperial in that you have experienced the whole JoJo timeline up till now. And all of a sudden you get moved into a new world where that person looks a lot like JoJo. Hey, that's Jolene, but that's not Jolene, it's Irene, but they have the same birthmark. And there's also another person that looks a lot like Weather Report or Weather Forecast. It's essentially, whilst they have now put a stop to this current timeline, the people that have existed will always remain the same, and the person that has experienced everything, which is you, will always carry those memories with you.
Right. So it's kind of like
It's
maybe
meta.
in another,
it's very meta.
Like in another world, maybe I would be in a different occupation. I wouldn't be recording the Good Anime Palette podcast with you. I would be doing something else.
You could be a live streamer,
right?
You could be a musician. You could be whatever you want.
But whoever is the observer of whatever this is into my timelines would be like, oh, but I know.
Yeah.
I know what this is going on. I see what you did there. That kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
And here goes the thing. So I know Steel Ball Run is part 7. So does that mean, again, this is a part where you can actually answer my question, or I can easily find it out, but I'm going to pose it anyways, and it's up to you how you want to divvy it up, is, does that mean that the characters get recycled but the powers change, or do they focus on a different thing does that mean that there's a Speedwagon, but instead of Speedwagon Federation, it's now like a Bucciarati Federation or something? I don't know, Bucciarati Foundation. Is it like everyone's powers get like swapped in a way, but then they use it in innovative ways? Or does it literally just mean, bro, that was the end of the Jojo Dio story, so now, and you will always remember it as like the star symbol, but now let's focus on another group of lineage? I have no idea.
It's still JoJo.
Okay.
There's still a Dio.
Okay.
There are
shit.
still stands, but not in the same way that they've been portrayed for the first 4 seasons.
Because it's interesting because stands technically didn't really happen in the beginning. It's Hamon that happens in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Then part 3 happens, and then the stands become the thing that JoJo's now known for. I know stands will be a thing in the future JoJo parts too, but is it going to be like the Hamon to stand thing, except it's like stand 2.0 essentially, right?
Well, it's not stand 2.0 because I don't mind spoiling this because it's literally in the synopsis. They go back in time.
What?
Yeah, it's set in like the pioneer days, like early 1900s.
Wait,
like,
what?
Yeah. Again, like you said, it's a different timeline.
Okay, wait. So basically, that is like, it's like, so that timeline or that story has been told. So it's like, yeah, we peace out.
They create a new world of
It's
JoJo
like, see you
and
later,
Dio.
Space Cowboy. But now let's focus on this timeline.
Well, I mean, how did part 1 start?
Mask?
It started in like the early 19th century when they were in a castle and they were horse-drawn carriages, and
Yeah.
now we're talking about
Yeah.
ambulances.
And then the horse carriage got into an accident,
Yeah.
but then the briefcase revealed the mask that started it all.
And then
Okay.
all of a sudden you jump straight into World War II, and then you go into the 80s in Morioka, and then you're in like contemporary times in Stone Ocean.
Huh. I see.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, well, what if it's kind of like an RPG, but what if I choose different dialogue options that lead me down a different path?
Or, hey, I mean, this story was set in this timeline in this location. Why don't we do it in this timeline but in a different location? There's
Yeah,
there's definitely a lot of parallels with how part 1 started and then how part 7 started. But the thing is, it's not one of those like, oh, I guess I'll just start from reading part 7 and I'll be able to get it. No. It's very much you are still Emporio in that everybody here is fucking different, but you know something is up. You
Right.
know these are still the same
wink,
people.
wink, nudge, nudge.
You're just waiting for them to reveal who the fuck they are.
Right.
Right.
And I think that's why Araki hit a wall in terms of inspiration, decided to press the reset button.
I think, well,
And that's why, like, the Marvel universe has like the multiverse, and DC universe has the multiverse and diverging timelines.
but by the way, there's no connection between part 6 and part 7, or like this time. It's just the fact that it's a new JoJo and a new Dio, but in a different world. It's
Right.
not like there's going to be a crossover of like, oh, Anasui,
that we know of.
or that we know of. But
Right.
well, I mean, I know, but you know,
Right. Okay.
But then it's like, I think what happened was, if you think about parts 1, 2, 3, right? Phantom Blood, Battle Tendency, and Stardust Crusaders. The main thing that drove all 3 of those was Dio, right?
Right.
Part 4, you still had the arrow from Dio.
Correct.
And then you had the fanaticism of Kira, who then was also like, you know, one of the greatest anime villains, right? Then you also then go into Golden Wind, where literally Giovanni, I mean the Italian JoJo, is a descendant of
Giorno.
Dio,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Yeah, and then you go into part 6, where Pucci is fucking a devout follower of Dio. When you keep on going on and on and on about the same through line of Dio, at some point you got to think, well, where can we go from here?
Right.
We went from a religious fanaticist who had the arrow. We went through a mafioso who also knows of the arrow, but he's also fighting against a kid who's a direct descendant of Dio.
Right.
Then you go into the fanatic follower, the devout follower of Dio. What can you do next as a villain within this universe's Dio? And
Right.
much in the same way, how do you then continue that lineage of JoJo's?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Where you have son, grandson, illegitimate son.
Daughter.
You have the son of fucking Dio, but who's somehow on the side of the Jojos because his name is Jojo,
Right.
right? There's going to have to be a reset.
Right.
And I think that's essentially how he chose to wrap it up. Where like, don't worry, things may look different on the surface, but essentially the core of Jojo, the core of Qeeo will carry on in just a different flavor.
And the thing is, though, when I think back now at this point in time, things like Golden Experience that stand, it boggles my mind because it wasn't addressed. The chariot picking up the arrow and then shifting, mutating, didn't make it wasn't addressed. I don't know if it will ever be addressed. I have no idea, right? But at least with the evolution of the green baby and the new moon and stuff, at least it made kind of like storyline sense that how it leads up to that. And by the way, of all of the spoiler stuff, we haven't even mentioned all the battles because it goes without saying it's fucking all dope, bro. So there's no need to mention which ones are good, which ones are bad, because literally the Rod guy that was only there for one episode is also badass as fuck. And it's just a dumbass kid that all of a sudden could see these Rod creatures. So badass still.
So in the whole grand scheme of things, right? All the way from parts 1 through to part 6, how do you sort of encapsulate your feelings about part 6? Like where does part 6 stand, for lack of a better word, amongst the other parts?
Are you asking me to rank them?
Not necessarily rank them, but like,
or in terms of significance, because it's different.
Because it seems so far that like parts 1 and 2, they're okay. Parts 3, slow start, but it got pretty good at the end. Part 4, you absolutely love part 4. Part 5 had its good moments, but you probably ranked it a little bit lower than part 4.
Yeah, I mean, it's very easy for me to say 4, 6, 5, 3, 2, 1. But I would argue that I love a lot of 5, but the significance of 6 is almost like unfair at that point. But I would also argue Jolene was awesome. The Mobius strip thing, it's like, thank God, like, I'm a dumbass nerd that biomedical. I was like, bro, strings, infinite loop. Why haven't she figured it out yet? Oh yeah, because she's too fucking dumb and she's a teenager. But then she figured it out, surprisingly. And then on top of all that, I was like, took you long enough. And then the fucking father Poochie's like, bro, is it a coincidence that you figured it out, or are you just that smart? I'm like, bro, why are you reading my mind? This is really fucking weird, bro. Holy shit, you're moving at the speed of light, and the universe is... I'm in a dim room with a projector with my 2 cats. Are we tripping right now? I'm just drinking fucking water at this point. I was talking to the cats like, did you spike my fucking drink, bro? Where's Qeeo? And then to have the world... the time freezing thing literally be a disadvantage is so crazy to me. So crazy to me. Then have it all wrapped up in a bow with Imperio. It's like so poetic. It's so awesome. But I will say, I'm not a huge JoJo fan, but I'm definitely a fan. Because I will definitely watch all of the future iterations, but I'm not going to read the manga.
Yeah.
Does that mean I'm a bad JoJo fan? No. I'm still like...
Well, I mean, there's loads of people that haven't read the manga.
Yeah, and
right? There's people who only watch the anime,
yeah,
right?
Like, I don't read the Monogatari light novels.
No.
I do want to own them, though, just so that I can have them, but they're so expensive. But the point is, I do have the ebooks, though, through Humble Bundle. But, okay, the point is, I'm in. But I'm not, like, super devout. You know?
Yeah.
And, honestly...
You're not quite Poochie.
I'm not quite Poochie. But... I'm in it for the long haul for sure. And at the end of the day, I think JoJo's pretty dope. So now that I've said that, I just want to tie up a couple of loose ends. Okay. I think, Will, can you guess my favorite character?
This is tough because when you say character, do you mean like stand users?
Nope. Yeah, stand users.
Stand users. I think it would have to be... Is it from part 4?
Yes.
Okay, then it's short guy.
No.
What his name is? It's not.
No.
Female character?
Nope. Rohan Kishibe
Of course.
is my favorite
okay.
character.
That should have been obvious. I thought it was Hirose.
No. I mean,
is it Hirose? I'll double check.
yeah.
I'll double check.
Yes. Is Koichi Hirose. Yeah.
Okay.
So I just listed off some of my favorite characters, not in any particular order, other than Rohan Kishibe. I think Rohan Kishibe is like
A tier of his own, right?
the perfect amount of self-referential meta, also OP power, also in my favorite JoJo part, also has a spin-off
I mean,
of its own.
Kishibe is Hirohiko Araki.
And then fucking like in part 6, in Stone Ocean part 3, fucking the mangaka is like, who did I lose to? Rohan Kishibe. And I'm like, bro, still got it, man.
I mean, when you create a character where their stand power is manga, like,
Yeah, I fucking love that shit. Okay, so in no particular order other than Rohan Kishibe being number 1, FF, Lisa, Jolene, obviously, those 3, dope as fuck.
it's pretty cool as well that like when they have like the good female characters, like those are the ones that like.
I mean, there's still a lot of damsel in distress and pretty mid female characters, but those 3 are like.
I mean, more so like you definitely have a lot of mid characters, like mid female characters, definitely in part 3, right? With JoJo's mom, because she did not do shit. Unfortunately, they just basically like inflicted her with the star curse, and then it's like, oh, that's all you're gonna be doing for 3 seasons.
Yep, and that's all our mission. Good luck, guys. Yep. I think, as you said, Koichi Hirose is also like top tier. I think the yandere hair girl, she gets special mention.
Oh, yes.
But she's not like top. She's definitely top yandere, but she's not like top JoJo characters.
Best supporting character?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Okay.
I think, obviously, Giorno, Pucci, I think Bucciarati, obviously, super dope. Not only because the innovation of using zippers in such a cool, creative way, but also just like his whole motif, his personality is just so good. Caesar, Polonov, obviously, Kira, obviously, and last but not least, I need to say, the biggest bro of all time, Speedwagon. Fucking Speedwagon.
Man, you just listed like basically almost every major character throughout JoJo. I think that's what JoJo is all about too. It's not so much like the battles, it's not so much the plot,
it is all those too, but it's not just that, right?
Right?
Yeah.
Like, the characters themselves are like they're very impressionable.
Now,
you're gonna list your least favorite one. No, you're not.
No, I'm not gonna list the stands because there's so many of them. But I would say from each part, the highlight for me is Dio for part 1, Lisa for part 2, part 3 is Polonov, part 4 is Hirose, part 5 is Bucciarati.
You thought Polarov for number 3.
Yeah, I really like him. And it's only because looking back with hindsight.
I mean, do you know who my favorite from part 3 was?
No?
Avdol.
Really?
Yeah, Avdol was dope, dude. He was a fucking rising phoenix. Though he died and he comes back and he just burns everything to the ground.
I get it, but I'm just like...
Oh, and also, let's not forget Iggy.
Dude, the dog doesn't... Listen, in the pantheon of, like, animal stand users, there's only, like, 2.
If you ever see a
Wait,
dog...
does FF count?
As a
does...
no.
Because it's like what's Plankton, right?
Yeah.
Plankton is a creature.
Yeah.
You get the Pet Shop Horror Eagle. You get Iggy. Then what else? That's it, right?
I think for the most part, yeah. That's about it.
Yeah. The tortoise?
That doesn't count because
Yeah.
it's literally just
it's like a magical object.
It's a plot mover where they move the cast from one side to another side, and within it you have the girl Trish that is like stuck inside the turtle.
Also, obviously, part 6, Jolene gets the MVP, even though I love FF as the best character. Jolene, I think...
Oh, did you say Bucciarati yet?
For part 5, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, just so that we're clear, yes, Bucciarati is my MVP for part 5.
I mean, he's fucking good.
Now, here's the biggest question. Will, who do you think is my favorite JoJo?
Favorite JoJo? Well, there's only 6, right? So it's Jonathan, it's Joseph, it goes Joseph, then Jonathan.
No, it's Jonathan first.
Oh, Jonathan first. Yeah, Jonathan, then Joseph, and then Jotaro Kujo, followed by Higosuke, whatever his full name is. Higashitaka Josuke, yeah. Then you have Giorno, and then Jolene.
Who do you think is my number 1?
Ooh, I don't think it's the 2 first ones. I don't think it's Jonathan or Joseph. are very, very indifferent, maybe even conflicted about Jotaro as well as Josuke, because I think Josuke was a bit too airhead for you, and you were not too down with the delinquency of Jotaro. So it's either Giorno or Jolene.
Flip a coin.
I think Jolene.
It's Giorno.
Giorno is your favorite.
I really do think Giorno is like my favorite JoJo. I love his ability. I love the way that he used his ability. And you could say it's like the Jon Snow part of it all, but like the fact that he's the bastard child in a way, but it's like bro is still a bro, you know? I love Giorno the best in terms of the JoJo's. Of course, it's like hard because you can literally pick. I would say I can make a case for almost all of them, some more than others, but I can still make a decent case of all of them.
I mean, I wouldn't have been far off if I had said, when I said Jolene was one of your favorites, right?
Well, absolutely. It will be second place, right?
But was I right in my line of thinking?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I would say Josuke and Jotaro, though, is a bit of a mixed bag because Jotaro has way more presence and significance and is just more badass. But I kind of like Josuke's randomness too, his rogue, alignment.
My
kind of
feelings about those two characters with Jotaro and Josuke. Jotaro is only, in my opinion, super popular because of his stand, and his stand is legitimately half of his character. Whereas with
I don't think so. No, I agree.
Yeah.
But for me, it's not the stand; it's his stance of his build.
Yeah,
that is like.
The Fist of the North Star physique, the way he stands, the way he...
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why literally people are like, yada, yada.
Yeah.
People are like, oh, you can skip part 1 and 2 and just start from 3. That's because of Jotaro.
Yeah.
So in terms of like pop culture significance, it has to be Jotaro.
And I think with Josuke, it's because of the supporting cast he has.
Mm.
With the Hiroseis, with the Koichi, and that's Koichi. You also have like Hair Girl. You have
Ron Kishibe,
Nijimura, I think as well. The skinhead one.
Yeah,
yeah,
like the rebel turned good kind of thing. Yeah, I mean, I like. There's you throw a dart at any JoJo character, protagonist or villain, and there's going to be some part of it that is going to appeal to someone. But that is very quickly how I feel about all of the JoJo characters. I'm not going to go into a villain tier list. I'm not going to do a stand thing because that's just way too hard, way too much. And you and I have talked about maybe doing an After Dark, and we chose not to. So we're not doing any of that.
But overall, I mean, your experience of watching JoJo, you've mentioned.
I absolutely do not regret it. And it took me this podcast and to do it, so I'm glad I did. But I understand now the memes, and I understand how I literally understand how everything works now, minus like what part 7 entails. But I am not like super crazy now. Oh, I need a JoJo suit now, or I need that Versace Gucci, or like buy you that art book. Like, to me, it's cool, it's awesome. But it's like just that.
Mm-hmm.
I never gave anything a 10 out of 10, but I did give part 3 of Stone Ocean a 9. I give part 2 an 8.
I mean, to be fair, same way that you were talking about
with Monogatari,
right?
Exactly.
Like Nisei, you gave like a 7.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody should ever watch that, actually, no. Except maybe like the last 2 episodes.
Like a recut version, yeah.
The last 2 episodes definitely worth
because
watching.
It's important. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So, listen, it's a great journey. It's a bizarre one, but it was an adventure for sure. I'm so glad I did it. That was how I feel about JoJo as of right now for all 6 parts.
And that brings us the end to
the
JoJo,
journey.
Yeah. The JoJo journey for Jason for the Gotta Watch Them All series. We're now gonna.
Took me fucking forever to get here, bro.
We're now gonna take a quick 5-second break in preparation for the spoiler section for Sword Art Online Alicization War of Underworld. And we are now ready to go into War of Underworld.
Thank God you started talking, because I made a deal in my head that I was going to down this as long as you kept the silence. So thank God you returned.
I mean, I was counting at least 5 seconds.
Okay, thank God. Thank God. Okay.
So,
all right. So, Will, now, as someone who literally doesn't know anything, tell me, enlighten me, Will.
So the reason why
I just left the Church of Jojo, and I need to go next door to the Church of Sao.
So the reason why I essentially talked about how Alicization, in a way, is better than War of Underworld is because War of Underworld starts to have the two worlds collide, in which you have what's happening in Alicization within the that VR world, and also what's happening in the IRL world.
So, just so that I'm clear, the IRL thing is the SWAT team thing into the turtle base thing.
Yes.
And then the game thing is the Alicization one-player game administrator, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. Because what happens is the infiltrating squad, right? And this is also like very convenient for the turtle. For every system that they have on one floor.
Wait, say that again? What do you mean system floor what?
Well, there's a whole floor that's dedicated to running the world of Alicization, right?
Okay, servers, that makes sense, yeah.
So what happens if someone were to infiltrate that server room? You have to have a backup server room.
I mean,
so whilst the team goes in and takes over the main server room, all the people, including Asuna, that were in that room, evacuate and go into the backup server room.
Wait. As in, like, this is, like, in real life, not in the game now, right?
Real life.
In real life, right?
Yes.
This is literally like, yo, let's sneak out the back door into this other room while you guys infiltrate this room.
Because whilst the infiltrators are going in to infiltrate the VR world and take Alice out to use as a weapon,
Yeah.
Asuna and the backup team are now in the backup server room to make sure that not only can they protect Alice, but also keep Kirito alive, because they know that Kirito is in a comatose state. Now, had Kirito been completely fine, hunky-dory, not been afflicted with his little catatonic state, he would be more than capable of taking care of shit. But because he is out of commission, and because Alice herself is a augmented virtual reality fucking machine, they have no clue in terms of what direction that she's going to go in.
It is so poetic that Kirito, the black swordsman known for OP-ness, is in this situation the most helpless. What is the opposite of damsel in distress?
The dude in distress.
The dude in distress. This is literally the pinnacle of dude in distress.
Yeah. So, and this happens for a long time.
Can I ask you this? This might sound like a really dumb question, but humor me for a sec. You told me last time, because I listened to our last Gotta Watch Them All when you talked about Alicization. They are like SWAT team level of expertise.
Yeah.
They got outmaneuvered by literal high school children.
Well, I mean, when you say high school children, are you talking about in IRL?
Yes.
Well, they also have a security force there too that's protecting them too.
Okay.
Not to mention that they're also under heavy surveillance and protected. The doors are welded shut. There's like an automated system to protect. So they basically have to go in with like battering rams. They have to hack the server and all that.
But there is like actual like reinforcement of the and they think Asuna's okay. They're cool with them. Or is it literally like a 3-faction thing?
Well, Asuna had to break her way in, and also because I think I've told you before as well that the guy that's running Ocean Turtle is the same guy that sent Kirito in the first time.
Yes.
So that's why, like.
So who's the mole? Who's the fucking mole, bro? I need to know the fucking mole. Let's hear it.
It's not any of them. It just happens to be one of the workers that's there because he was part of the. I think he was part of the smiling, the laughing mask squad. That's
Laughing Coffin.
Yeah, Laughing Coffin.
So it's literally.
Well, no, he wasn't part of it, but they basically like.
He's an advocate.
He advocated what they wanted to do.
Right.
And therefore, like
he's a supporter of their cause.
Mm-hmm.
So it was literally a red herring of like, oh, the mole is supposed to be someone important. Guess not.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, no, the guy, because of course, like that dude acts super shifty to begin with, right? Like, why are you all of a sudden kidnapping Kirito? Why are you bringing him off to this middle of the ocean facility to start like working on this unannounced AI project? And then Asuna comes in and she's like, okay, Kirito needs help. Send me in.
Okay.
Oh, well, you'll have to create a new character and then, just level them up. That's going to take too much time. What we're going to do is we're going to give you admin access,
Fucking dope.
which means that you legitimately
Can do whatever the fuck you want.
And the first thing she does is cast a spell and split the earth in half. Because there is a group of NPCs being chased by a group of villains. And right when that part is about to happen, a line of light just shimmers across the land and splits it in half, so then they can't reach each other anymore. And then Asuna drops out of the sky because apparently using too much of the admin powers is also very detrimental to the IRL person. So she has a bit of a headache and then she can't really focus.
You see, that all sounds pretty cool, but it also, from the way that you are describing it, it also sounds very bullshitty.
I mean, have you not seen how overpowered things can be? This is now like no longer Kirito being OP, it's Asuna. But the reason
power.
But the reason why I say it's bullshit is because,
Okay, here we go.
look, like she can do all that.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing, super powerful. She never does it again afterwards.
What? I'm sorry. What? Okay, what do you mean by that? Like,
As in, like, she's still like a very skilled fighter. She can like take care of herself,
yes,
no problem.
No problem.
But she then doesn't necessarily use her crazy admin powers to try and defeat the enemy anymore because it's too mentally and physically taxing. So it's like they just showcased how powerful she was there, and then that's it. Which then leads me to be like, this is where like bullshit number one comes in, where like you finally allow for Asuna to be overpowered because she has been on the sidelines for however many seasons, and then that's kind of it. Oh, and then also immediately there's a love triangle situation going on.
Wait.
Well, love.
Where?
Well, no. There's a
It's all of them, right?
It's a love polygon. Yeah. Every single
with
character.
Kirito.
Every single character really wants Kirito's seed.
Okay. There. Okay.
Yeah.
Plain and simple. Got it. So okay. Now okay. So you said in the non-spoiler section that the whole point of the first half of War of Underworld is all the friends gather for the war. So how do they all gather for the war?
Remember the little pixie girl?
Oh, Yua, right?
Yui or
the,
Yui.
The daughter,
Yeah.
the quote-unquote daughter, yeah?
Well, she travels from one server to the other server and
Oh.
notifies everybody. There's a war coming. Things are going to go bad.
Yeah, but how do they connect everything? Please don't. I know what you're going to say. Just say it.
The original band of merry men and merry women that played together in the first game of SAO then plead to all the other guild members, we need to stop this war.
Oh, this is even dumber than I thought. But how do you still connect all the games?
You can transfer your character over from one server to another server.
Bro, is there a microtransaction fee? The company's earning money.
No, the transaction is you might die, and then you lose your character. But it was kind of weird that the characters were more concerned about losing their player as opposed to dying. And they're like, I'm out. And then
because
and
that's
then-
your identity, I guess.
and then they do one last like cry for help, and then like
Who answers the call?
well, all the other guilds that also fought in like SAO2 and all that. So like in like the bullet one, they were there. So yeah, there are guns in this one too. Meanwhile, while all that is happening, the infiltration squad decides we're not just going to be able to extract Alice from this program. We need to go in there. So do we have to make new characters? Well, luckily, whilst they were beta testing this, they actually made a lot of really overpowered villains that were shelved because they might have been game breaking. Okay, we use those. Okay, sure. Which one do you want? I want that one. Oh, that one's
Well, that's not too far-fetched in their defense.
That one's a level 99. Okay, cool. All right, I'll take that one.
Because,
Oh, what about that one? That one's got a question mark on it.
Okay.
I want that one.
Yeah. I mean, listen, look. if you play like any Bethesda game, like Fallout or like Skyrim, they literally have like a room, like an admin room with every single item that is in the game that you can, like, if you have a developer kit or whatever that you can access,
it's
right?
the same fucking thing from like Men in Black 1, right?
Yeah.
When Qeeo walks in and it opens up the door and it's like 50 million guns. Like, I'm going to take the
it's like John Wick going
I'm gonna
shopping.
take the big ass bazooka, and then the guy takes like a little needle gun. It's like, why are you taking that?
Oh, don't touch that! Don't touch that! Holy shit!
Yeah.
Like it's like John Wick going shopping. It's like, okay, let's go.
Yeah.
So that part is not too concerning to me yet.
The crazy part was
Okay.
It's not so much crazy. It's more just that like you also have to remember that these aren't just regular NPCs. These are all AI models, which means that all these characters can develop some level of sentience. It's just that they have a blocker in the program to prevent them from going
inhibition,
past.
right?
Exactly, because whenever that does happen,
The
all
limiter.
all of a sudden, error, and their eyes explode. That happened in part 1 as well, in Alicization, when
So they just turn blind, right? But that's it, right?
well, you can restore the eyes because the eyes are cosmetic, right? But it's in the end, like, it's just basically letting the program know that, oh shit, what if your AI models has gone too far? You need to inhibit their ability to go beyond the program,
Right.
otherwise they're going to run riot.
Right. Okay.
So in the dark side of the world, where all the monsters and villains are,
Oh, because the world is split in half.
well, no, okay. When I say this, the world, what I meant was like the ground, literally like the whole ground.
Okay,
but
okay.
the worlds are still attached,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
But there's just like a massive chasm between like one side and the other.
And they couldn't fly or levitate.
Not yet. No.
Oh.
Well, I mean, they can fly. I mean, they have like a band of witches with dragons who can fly over, but they're not important yet.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
So then, all of a sudden, all the evil.
This is so entertaining to me.
The ogres, the half orcs, the trolls, the
monsters,
sirens, and all
right?
that.
Yep,
they
yep.
all start banding together. It's like we need to start invading this evil, the human world.
Because we all watched Slime Isekai. Okay, cool.
But then there's also like this group of humans that are like defectors. They're the ones who like basically like turned into like the dark magic and all that. But they seem kind of human. They're like, I quite like the peace that we have. Let's not instigate anything. And all of a sudden it's like ding 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 ding. The great lord has awoken. Great to the chambers right now. It's like, oh shit, he's back. And then they go, and it's the main infiltrator guy in the question mark avatar sitting on the throne. He has basically reincarnated as the big bad in this world, and now he's there to essentially unify every single clan of evil monsters and villains under one war banner to take over the human world in this world, as well as capture Alice. Not everybody's on board. So there's 2 people that are like, I don't want any of this. Don't worry, we'll figure something out. Cool. They kiss. Next day, what happened? Turns out that one of the 2, which is the girl, decides to try to seduce the question mark avatar guy. But of course, because question mark avatar guy is so overpowered and so clairvoyant that he is able to predict everything and essentially kill her. And the next thing you see is dude standing there ready to defy question mark avatar guy, whilst question mark avatar guy holds out a block of ice. And in that block of ice is the girl's head, sending dissident number 1 into a fucking crazy rage. He turns into a dragon, tries to blow up the building, only just to kill himself, but also half of the other squad leaders that were there too. So then, just like in Shadows of Mordor, where one orc dies and next orc in place takes up and ascends the throne, that then happens. But of course, there's a lot of disorganization because people don't really know how to lead, but some are a bit more intelligible than others, so they'll take over control of other clans and whatnot. There's pig people there too, which is weird because the pig people are called orcs, but they're pig people.
Note to all listeners: Will's monologue is not fan fiction. It is, to my knowledge, exactly what happens in War of Underworld. You are not freaking out like I am. This is real.
It's World of Warcraft, essentially.
Like
Arthas is back.
I'm so speechless.
Arthas is back,
But
basically.
what about the sword? Like the huge ass sword? Did they fix that shit yet?
Oh no, they don't need no sword.
Oh fuck. Okay, they got guns. Got it. Okay.
Yeah. He gets fucking
Okay.
crazy.
So like This is already very bullshitty to me.
Yeah, it's insane, but it plays out really well because if you've already bought into how insanely stupid certain things can get in SEO 1 and SEO 2, then those kinds of elements kind of come back in Underworld, and you just play along with it because there's still the war going on.
So it's like if you're in it for the ride, you might as well enjoy the ride, right?
I didn't say anything wrong with it. I didn't I didn't say it was bad. I'm saying it was just completely wild.
Yeah,
you know.
But that's what I mean, right? Like if you are willing to accept the logic gap or the plot hole or whatever you want to call it, right? The imperfection of it all. Like if you're in it to watch it, you're on the ride. You might as well enjoy it, right? At that point.
I mean, is it really a plot hole? There really are no plot holes. I mean, it just so happens that the main character villain that they've resurrected is supposed to be the big bad in the game. It's just that it was so overpowered they had to shelve that character. But when the infiltrators came in and found that these were in the backlog, they decided, why not use these avatars to their advantage?
Okay.
So it does make sense, but it's
it
also,
does.
What the fuck?
Yes, it does.
Right?
No, like literally, like what you're saying is like very conceivable in real life for like game developers to have like assets that they don't use. That's why people data mine games because it's like, oh, this might be a DLC, or this was an incomplete model, or oh, this bug thing wasn't supposed to happen, but we were too lazy to delete it, and now it becomes a speedrunning tactic.
Yeah, I mean, it's like when Pokemon released Pokemon Yellow. If you data mined the game, you'll also find a file for Pokemon Pink. And it was supposed to be a Clefairy kind of part.
Oh, I thought it was Jigglypuff.
Clefairy, actually.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyways, so all of this is, as I said, right, very, I wouldn't use the word realistic, but genuine.
Yeah.
But it's, as you also said, and I agree, very bullshitty at this point and very wild.
Yeah. I mean,
it's just like the Jojo Part 3 stuff that happens. It's like, it's just, whoa, okay.
Yeah. While this is happening, by the way.
Yeah, all of it. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Alice and Asuna are still trying to get along because both of them just really, really want to fuck Kirito. Like, they can't wait for Kirito to come back so they can fuck him. But until then, like, that they just have to take care of his comatose ass.
Wait,
meanwhile,
did Asuna...
Oh, by the way...
Did Asuna tell Alice about the V card?
No, but I think
she should have.
But she did tell them that they are together IRL.
And she got pissed.
And so Alice, then it's like, well, I must let you know that I also love Kirito. And that I will also protect Kirito. And so I guess then, unbeknownst to Kirito, because his fucking comatose ass is not aware of anything, he now has his harem. He now has his harem all over again.
Oh, okay.
Oh, and by the way, do you remember in Alicization, there was that part where Yu-Gi-Oh and Kirito have...
Who's Yu-Gi-Oh?
Yu-Gi-Oh is he's the other AI character that was like a friend.
Oh, right, like his childhood friend that he trains with in the very beginning of Alicization. I do remember that. I did watch that scene. Yeah.
So there was a part where he
the tree stump.
Yeah. That's in the beginning, right? So then midway through, there's like these two asshole acolytes within like their little night training school where they're very high rank and they also abuse the squires that work under Kirito and Yu-Gi-Oh to the point where like the R word happens, and then Yu-Gi-Oh and Kirito come in and save them. Kirito basically ending up by Yu-Gi-Oh cuts off one of their arms and then Kirito kills the other by like slicing their head off and whatnot. One of the girls that worked under Kirito, who he saved, ends up also wanting to bang Kirito. So then she is like, I also love Kirito. And then as this starts developing and they start bringing in all the other characters from Gun Gale Online and all the other games. Do you remember Kirito's half-sister? Yeah, she's there too. And she also really wants to fucking bang Kirito. And so she's also there to protect him too. Yeah. The harem is back, baby. But moving on from that, they then start going on and basically they find out that in order for them to be able to safely extract Alice from this world, they need to bring her to a specific coordinate, which is like the contact point between the console of the server and that particular location where it exists in the game. So they make their way over there, whilst all the other people, like I forgot what the other characters' names are, but they all come in, they all escort them over. Meanwhile, the big bads are waging war, but they also realize that because throughout all these battles, the NPCs in this game aren't that great.
What the fuck are they doing?
They keep getting wiped out. They have plan after plan, but then like the NPCs on the good side are way smarter, and they just essentially obliterate them. What did they do then?
Copy paste.
No. They essentially go onto forums, other game servers.
Bro.
And say, we have just released a beta test
for
this new game we're playing. Everybody come in now. So they go into not just the Japanese servers, but the Chinese servers, the Thai servers, the Korean servers. And everybody comes in, starting to flood in, and they start building this massive horde army to take out the good guys. Because they think, and then they start saying like, oh, these are the Japanese hackers. These are the ones that fucked up the game of SAO. You remember all your friends and family that died in SAO? They're the ones who are responsible for it. Arr, I'm going to kill those fucking hackers.
By the way, the war hasn't started yet. Or has the war started at this point?
It's been going on. It's just that I've neglected all the other stuff because like you kind of already can expect what happens in those. They're awesome. The fights are cool.
Okay.
Really cool.
That's why I wanted to ask. Okay, good.
But then the main war, which is involving Kirito's army along with the evil army, the infiltration squad army,
which is comprised of both like infiltrators, quote unquote, like monsters, and also human players
that got invited in from the beta test,
right? That are like just against the opposing side, essentially.
Yeah. Then,
almost every there's if I imagine this scenario, right, there is a whole lot of people that don't know what the fuck is going on. Then
no, they're just in there playing the game and killing shit,
expecting like, oh, this is fun, and then actually not understanding the ramifications.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. That's pretty fucked up, but okay. That makes sense also. Why?
So then, all the main characters that you've known from sort of online, right? Let me try and remember all the characters' names. So you have, for example, you got Asuna who's fighting Alice. You have Shino, right? The gunslinger.
Yes.
You also
nice
have,
ass.
You also have Yui that's helping out. You have stepsister there. What's his name?
Leaf.
Leaf is there.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the half sister, I think.
Yep. You got Samurai Best Bud Boy.
Yep.
Do you get Bartender Guy?
Bartender Guy's there too, yep.
Okay. Do you get the lolly
guess what?
Pink
Did you watch Ordinal Scale?
Yes, I did watch Ordinal Scale.
Those two characters, right? Never seen again.
Oh, for fuck's sake. I fucking no.
They're back.
I fucking hate that shit.
Oh, wait. Hate that shit as in like you hate the characters or you hate that they just decided to plant them into the story?
Both.
Well, okay. Perfect. Because the guy in that one, right? He ends up getting both his arms and legs cut off.
Okay, okay, bro. You set me up to fall for that one. I'm not gonna take that heat for that. But I don't like that character.
I didn't like Ordinal Scale that much.
And that self-insert or like forced insert that just sounds so dumb. That just sounds like, oh, let's just do it for the sake of getting the.
I mean, it's also part of the war because in order to sort of instill more.
You see, that's the problem that I have with this is when you say it's all for the war, you are right, and I agree with you. But it's also fucking stupid to use that as an excuse. It's like you can always use that as an excuse, and I will give it to you, but I will reluctantly give it to you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, in terms of this, you remember like the girl who was supposedly dead, but like she's like a singing avatar and all that.
No fucking way.
Well, I mean she's there too, but in order to be able to boost morale, she holds a.
She's a bard.
No,
VTuber.
Yeah, she hosts a virtual concert in there.
So Hatsune Miku is there
to raise the morale of the Japanese players so that they can, fight against the infiltrators and all that.
Okay, as someone who likes the Bard class a lot, I'm very conflicted because Okay, all right, let's keep moving on.
Yeah.
I
Guess what? You know how Asuna was super OP because she has admin powers? Yeah, she's not really OP. She gets her ass kicked a lot of times, but only because she had spent like hours just killing like 50 million other NPCs, 50 million other beta testers, and then when she has to fight the big bad is super OP because the developers just gave a lot of powers to these evil avatars.
So when you murder, kill, decapitate, the limbs go off, what are the ramifications?
It's not so much that like you die in the game. Rather, like your avatar is completely gone. That's it. Like you just
like it's just character yeeted, deleted. That's it.
Yeah.
You don't feel the pain. You don't.
Oh no, you feel pain because it's still very much
So there are actual real life consequences for participating in the war.
You don't die. You don't get hurt. But the real consequence is because if you do not stop these infiltrators, they will extract Alice and turn Alice into a war machine.
Yeah, but no one knows that other than like the select few, right? Like not everyone knows that. Everyone thinks this is just a massive collective beta test event that everyone should get in on and it's hype.
Yeah, but then you're also talking about people that don't matter. We're talking about
that is true. That is true.
Exactly.
Fair.
Right?
Fair. Okay.
Right? Why would those people?
Touche.
Exactly.
Sorry.
So then, Leaf, like Suguha, Shino, all the characters, they do their battles. They're able to take out big bats and whatnot.
So I have a question about. You said all the battles are awesome. So is it kind of just like Shino versus this bad avatar?
Yes.
Battle it out. Here's a couple episodes.
And guess what? Because Shino's a fucking like amazing markswoman, they also have a sniper battle.
Right.
And it plays out really fucking awesome.
So it's a lot of like it's kind of like the Jojo thing of like it's like a monster of the week kind of thing, but it's like each episode is awesome, each battle is awesome.
One thing you can never discredit from SAO is the fact that like the battles, I'm just going over them because there's really no point in rinse and repeating.
But it's A1 Pictures though.
But they're really good.
It's A1 Pictures.
They're really good. I just have to focus on the in betweens because if I just sat here talking about the battles, like it wouldn't be interesting. Right.
Plus, you want to leave something for me and everyone else to watch.
Exactly.
Right.
I wanted you to see the battles yourself. I don't want to explain how Klein actually is useful in this.
I actually am very curious to be
Klein's
very
actually
honest.
pretty useful. He's not main character useful.
Wait. What about the bartender guy?
He also is not nearly as much. I mean, he actually doesn't have a lot of lines to say in the Alicization.
Because I always feel like at that point, War of Underworld becomes Soul Society arc battle. Minus the dumb NPCs and like the player characters that don't matter. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah. Every character is there. Literally every character you've seen leading up from SAO till now shows up in this war.
Do they all have a moment to shine, or some shines brighter than others?
The latter.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean it's unfortunate, but I get it. Okay, I get it.
So
you can't ask for everything.
So Big Bad manages to dust everybody, right? But that's because like the servers have been overloaded by people and therefore they've been worn down. Don't forget that like
wait, don't they get DDoS then at that point?
No.
Because the servers could hold it up, apparently. Okay, great.
I mean, these are running virtual machines running with AI models.
Oh, great.
It's more than capable of just dropping more and more people in.
So at what point do we get close to the Stone Ocean Part 3 impactful, like crazy catastrophe changes everything part? And why are you grinning and laughing at me when I choose this moment to ask this question?
Because you're going to hate this part so much. I thought it was hilarious.
Just tell me, please.
So,
wait. Pause for 2 seconds just in case whoever decides to not care right now.
I'm not giving you that time because you're going to hear it anyway.
Let's go then.
So,
okay.
Kirito this whole time has been in a comatose state. But every time he gets into contact with one of the 3 characters that are closest to him, Alice.
Bro, don't tell me
Asuna.
Like he can move a finger, then move a hand, then move an arm, and then move his...
Well, no, he just has a slightly more, reactive reaction.
Sure, okay.
Right? You're never going to guess.
Your brain waves.
Who do you think is the third most important character to him is after Asuna and Alice?
Hold on. You cannot answer this question. Just hold on. Let me think for a sec. Can I actually even answer that question, actually?
Yeah, you can. It's probably the answer you don't want to say because of how fucked up it is, but...
What, the daughter?
No, not the daughter. No.
The half-sister. Wincest, my man.
And so all three who love him so much have to connect with him somehow. But by actually physically being there, it doesn't matter. What they need to do is connect the dots in the real world. And they have to open up servers elsewhere to allow for him to connect his brain to those emotions. And so therefore, the IRL team have to escape through a channel of tunnels to access another part of the server, flip some switches, turn them on.
My dude. So this is Metal Gear Solid now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dun, dun,
High
dun,
school
dun, dun.
version.
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, well, when you say high school, no, it's not the high schoolers that are doing it. It's all the facility workers and the scientists and the computer programmers are doing it.
Oh, so
literally the only high schooler that's on the facility is
Asuna.
Everybody else is at home. They're chilling at home, playing the game.
It's like, I need to do bio.
No, they actually are in the game. They're just doing it in the safety of their own home and not in the middle of a terrorist attack. That's the difference. Yeah,
it's kind of crazy how like.
Do you see what I mean? Where it's bullshit. It's not bad bullshit, but it's like wacky. Like this doesn't make any sense. But fuck it, I'm here for the ride. Give me all you got.
Okay, can I ask you a really dumb plot hole question?
Over it.
So, how many human players are involved in this whole massive war? I'm not talking about who lives or who dies. How many players are connected?
Anybody that has access to the servers in China.
Is there a number? Is there a number?
No, they just keep on regenerating because it's always wave one. Oh,
is it like millions?
Well, they basically open up the beta test window every 10 minutes. So every 10 minutes or something like that, there's going to be
because I'm trying to imagine.
That's why like Asuna and the team just cannot defeat them because there's constantly new beta testers coming in.
Like literally in queue.
Exactly. Because that's how they limit the servers. So that way it doesn't just DDoS,
also
right?
in real life too, right? Yeah.
Right? So once like the first wave of those beta testers die out, a new wave comes in so that
I'm just trying to imagine planet Earth, like SAO IRL planet Earth, and how many people are playing this video game at that moment in time.
Yeah.
And it's just like is it millions?
Well,
is it billions?
The thing is, right?
Oh no.
Because I only talked about China, Japan, and Korea.
What about the EU servers and the US servers and the Oceania servers, right?
Yeah.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Just because time is moving so fast.
Please tell me there's a time difference factor into this.
Every 5 hours a new server opens up because now it's America.
This is dumb. I am both shocked, amazed in a positive and negative way, and that I cannot describe to you. I'm both disgusted and curious
but it's IRL.
Like elating.
It's IRL. It's a game. Like
right.
If you wanted to play on a North America server, you're going to have some ping issues.
Right.
But you're also going to be playing with someone in a completely different time zone. And that's what they use to their advantage because time moves at a very different pace in the game.
Yeah.
So therefore, they tire out so much faster. But, the infiltrators, they got time on their side. And eventually, they then realize that they're trying to get Alice to that point. So what they do then
is go to that point to wait for Alice.
Whilst that's happening, they speed up the in-game time. So that
basically part 3 of Stone Ocean.
They die out faster. I can't believe that it's all connected.
I don't even know why. I legit, we did not plan this, listeners. I have no idea. Yep. Like, what the fuck? Okay.
Yep.
The parallels are kind of crazy. Okay.
And once it's set to that time as a failsafe, for some reason, it means that they are no longer able to undo that time. So the backup server, one, they either don't have enough power or they just don't have the right access codes to be able to undo the fuckery that the infiltration team did. So, as I was saying before we went on this whole thing, Kirito all of a sudden has flooding emotions from Alice, Asuna, and Sugaha. And he all of a sudden also I forgot he loses one of his arms in Alicization, but because of all the emotions he grows his arm back. And then he becomes OP again, destroys everybody, and then now they have to bring bring Alice to that meeting point. However,
the rendezvous, okay,
because there is another big bad who was like the artist of the world, he dies, but then he finds a new avatar because he transferred his character from Gun Gale Online into this world. So he's
Smart.
super OP already.
Smart.
Oh, and he has dragons too.
Smart.
Yeah. But don't worry, he dies too.
Oh shit! Damn.
Yeah.
Not so smart.
And then then they manage to save Alice. They send Alice through, but because of how fast time is moving,
Mm-hmm.
Asuna and Kirito need to stay behind to protect the connection points. So they stay behind, knowing that if they stay behind,
How many IRL years? No, sorry. How many in-game years are we talking here now? That they're gatekeepers.
hundreds, thousands.
So they literally are the only two. It's like Adam and Eve for 100, 200, 300 years
Yeah.
of in-game time.
Yeah.
That if you were to all of a sudden jack out and back to like IRL, it would be like 3 minutes or whatever.
And they say the ramifications of doing this is
It's crazy because your brain would literally go insane. Like no joke, that would literally be what happens. But love conquers all, so they should be fine, right?
no. It's
Oh,
because
shit.
it's Kirito and Asuna, and they're super OP.
So they're good.
They're fine. They come out. Do they come out? Yeah, they come out.
They came for sure, right?
Oh yeah,
yeah,
they definitely did.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you're stuck together for several hundred years. You're gonna do something.
I mean, that's why Yui's there, right?
Oh, for fuck's sake. Okay, so
Anyways,
I'm still waiting for this moment. Okay, so everything still sounds very grand, very epic, very like, grand, like scale.
Yeah.
So I'm still waiting.
so they fast forward a little bit of time, right?
Wait, what do you mean fast forward a little bit of time? As in like they're stopped gatekeeping. That's the fast forward of time.
No, they're still gatekeeping because
Forever.
Well, however long. I haven't said that they've gotten out yet. They said that their brains haven't melted yet.
Okay.
So Alice makes it out, and Alice
But
is
who? To where?
they magically have an Alice model,
A
ready
conduit. Yeah. Okay. You fucking. Okay. Great.
and
Okay.
she then needs to hold a press conference to talk about how autonomous artificial intelligence will not take over the world and all that.
Oh, Will. I didn't know you're talking about my wife has no emotions.
No, I'm talking about iRobot, dude.
Or iRobot.
Yeah.
I didn't know you're doing that. Oh, shit.
But because Alice, being an AI model, is still connected to the server, notices that Kirito
And Asuna.
are waking up. It's been hundreds of years in the game. They should be dead, but for some reason, they're still alive.
Well, technically, you won't, like, even those hundreds of years, you don't age, right? But you can say, like, your mental sanity and mental fortitude will degrade, but technically, it's like time is still
Yeah.
just for hundreds of years, right? So is it no? So when you say
Well,
that when you say that
okay.
they gatekeep, right?
Their bodies are still fine
Oh,
in
no,
real time.
I understand.
But
I
their
understand.
minds
Right, of course, that's
have been going through
hundreds.
cent-
Yeah.
Yes.
So it might have changed or developed, right? But
Yeah.
but before we get into that, so what do they do for the hundreds of years? Do they just are they in this empty world with just the two of them, and then they just chill for hundreds of years, or do they do stuff?
The server still exists.
Are there
So
players? No. So it's literally
It's all the AI models that still existed there.
so there's still interactions that they can have. They're just the only two actual human players among a colony, a country, a world of AI people.
And they go and explore the world together like they intended to in the first place.
Okay,
Like
so
what
that's not too bad,
Not
right?
too
That
bad.
sounds pretty dope for hundreds of years. Just
Yep.
don't wake up.
So then,
You wake
When-
up.
well, they are waking up, as in like the body, the real life body is
mhm.
showing some signs of consciousness, right?
Right.
So the brain hasn't completely melted. What he does
Who's
is
he?
Kirito.
Okay.
He wakes up in the game, as in like one day, and then he goes to. Oh, by the way, I forgot to tell you if you knew, but Alice has a sister, right?
No, I didn't know that, but okay. What's Alice's sister's name?
I forgot. She's not
Elise?
important. She's not important.
Oh, she's not important. Thank God.
Yeah, but basically, what he wants to do is, her name is Higa, I think. Basically,
Igarashi, got it.
basically the last however many hundred of years,
Yeah.
him and Asuna were there.
Don't the NPCs or the AIs know that like these Adam and Eve, Asuna and Kirito is like an anomaly among everyone, or is it like?
Well, they explain it in a way where it allows for them to exist in the world and people don't ask questions.
Okay,
Yeah.
So they're like a deity then.
Kind of.
Except
some people do know.
Yeah,
like
so
Higa.
They're like a fabled hero, like a urban legend or what? Okay. So one day in the game world, after hundreds of years, Kirito decides to.
You know what? I've done so much here, but our time has come. We need to go back to the real world. So, whatever we've done over the past 200 years, our characters that still exist here, erase their memories. Just erase the last several hundred years, and everybody else here just continue living on. Okay?
But the real life Kirito and Asuna would remember, or they would forget?
Oh, the real ones would remember.
Okay. So it's just like their avatars, right?
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
But before deleting Kirito, right? The character then goes and says,
"Wait, which character?"
Higa. I think Higa. Doesn't matter. These characters don't really matter.
Okay, great.
But then Higa makes a copy of Kirito just to save, right? But then the original copy, she's about to delete it before that copy of Kirito asks, "Oh no, okay." Higa's the scientist that worked with Kayaba to make the game, but because Kirito has met Kayaba, she asks that
back
copy,
in SAO1.
Yeah.
In the middle of SAO1,
she asks that copy, "I need your help to contact Kayaba in order to be able to protect the Underworld."
But Kayaba disintegrated.
Well, there's always a source code, right?
I guess.
And
Okay.
Kirito was the closest thing to the source code.
That is very true.
So that's her conduit to finding Kayaba, because they were
The middleman. Okay.
I forgot to tell you, Higa, this girl that worked on the game with Kayaba, yeah, they were lovers too.
What?
It makes sense. It makes sense. I'm just saying. I'm just telling things out of order.
I mean, like they made the game together, so they hung out a lot together, so they're definitely into each other, I guess.
But then she also spites him for all of a sudden deciding one day to leave, go into the game, and die. So she's obviously very jilted. Plus, she has a lot of guilt in helping make this game, which also led to the hundreds of people dying too. So she's doing this as a way to sort of like
repents, right? Okay, got it.
So Kirito comes back and finds out that life is back to normal.
Okay.
Except Alice has gone missing.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
What Alice has done is essentially put herself into a box and mail herself to Kirito's house. Because remember, she's not a human; she's a robot. So
but she did a press conference.
Yeah, she left.
Well, just like, oh, peace out.
Yep.
And I'm literally gonna put myself in a box, put the hand, and then put the sticker, post it.
Yep.
Mail myself to Kirito's address and dox him. Okay.
Yep. Yeah.
Where's Asuna?
Oh, she's.
Oh, she wakes up. Everything's cool.
Oh, everything's cool for her.
Okay.
As well.
Then the box gets delivered. Okay.
Yep. And then after that, they decide to, chill, hang out. Until
the way that you said chill and hang out is very sus, bro.
They're friends, right?
Okay.
They're friends.
Yeah. Just friends, right?
Until Alice then tells Kirito that during her time here, she received a anonymous email, a cryptic email.
Okay.
Which was a means of being able to connect to the Underworld. Someone from the Underworld is sending her a message.
Sure.
So they're trying to figure out, well, everything's left there, right? Why would they be contacting you? You're out of the game now.
Yeah.
So then, guess what?
What?
They decide to log back into the Underworld.
To see what's up. And what do they see?
So this game was set in like a fantasy, a dark fantasy world.
It is Ghost in the Shell, futuristic, cyberpunk. Because technology advanced so fast because time dilation.
They were in space.
Bro, called it. Mass Effect, let's go.
Massive space horror. Literally, it's called the Abyssal Horror. It's like
okay, never mind.
Massive monster Cthulhu thing.
So Dead Space.
and it's like chasing after them, and then all of a sudden, like they're chasing after like another spaceship, but then they come in because they still have their super OP powers and slice that thing to hell. And then the spaceship comes over, thanks them for saving them, and then when you look closely, they realize that these two characters are very familiar because
it's their avatars that they left behind.
No.
Okay.
It is the two characters, the two squires that Kirito and Yujio had, the two girls that
That got abused.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're direct descendants of them.
Okay.
And that's why it's like...
No, but if it's direct descendants, it will be like hundreds of generations after.
Yep. The impact of Kirito and Asuna in this world over the hundreds of years they were there has lived on in the lore of Underworld. And then it ends. Because now they've basically found new galactic heroes and there's something going on in Underworld, and so they fly back to the world that they were originally on, and then that's it. And that's why now, like, I honestly have no clue what the fuck's gonna happen.
Okay. I'm processing everything. Okay, so now that we have reached this point in this discussion,
That's why I'm saying the last two episodes are like a massive brain fuck for anybody watching War of Underworld.
So let me get this straight, and correct me if I'm wrong. As it stands right now, in terms of planet Earth, what happened to the infiltrators?
They die.
Oh, they died?
Yeah.
Or, so no arrest, no prison, it's just they died.
Yeah. Because what happened is they kept on changing characters when they died, but one of them...
They couldn't accept the trauma?
Well, one died, but then as they died, they lost connection.
Bro,
so they matrixed out.
Fuck, that's fucked up.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the last thing their existence had in the game was just like impending like fear and doom. So they're just like in a constant like...
Dude, that really sucks. That's fucked up.
It's just a free fall in fear and terror.
That's like golden experience level of demise. You know what I'm saying?
That's what happens to them.
That's fucked up.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
well, one of them. The other one, their body is missing.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Maybe that will come into play later.
Yeah,
Who
yeah,
knows, right? Wink, wink, nudge. Okay. So, but excluding what I just mentioned with the infiltrators, everyone else is alive and well in the IRL world,
Yes,
right?
Yes.
Is all of this explained in the press conference that the Alice in the new like physical shell mentioned?
No. They just explained that this is a new AI model.
So literally no one knows better other than the real people that were involved, right?
Yeah, nobody knows that she was a pawn in this proxy war between the Japanese and the Americans.
Yeah, and a lot of gamers were really happy that they joined into this beta, but they didn't know anything else of it beyond that.
Well, no, a lot of them hated it because they kept on dying really easy.
Right,
yeah,
but it was just, it was just a
yeah.
shitty game rather than, like, really knowing the ramifications of it. Okay.
Yeah.
So
it wasn't, like, massive, like,
right.
global news, like how the first
Okay.
SEO with the nerve gear and everything.
And Kirito and Asuna are still high school students, but with a brain technically of memories of hundreds and hundreds of years of existence. Is
I
that
don't know,
correct?
they're high school students. I thought they graduated.
I mean, I literally don't know.
Yeah, I think they graduated because, well, then Kirito now, well, I think he's balancing out college work and whatever.
Work where?
Well, he's picking up, I mean, that's why he was infiltrating that thing. He was doing, like, random tests for...
Oh, right, because he got sent from our...
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And then it was a trap. Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
So, and then now he has a new companion / toy / friend of Alice literally showing up to his doorstep and then now lives with them.
Well, no, because, well, they live with them, but then, like, now, like, they have to go back into the world of Wraith, which is, like, where, like, it hosts Underworld and everything.
Right, but in terms of IRL, they're still all, like...
Well, no, I think Alice actually stays within, like, the facility where, like, it's, like, she cannot be...
Of
out.
Turtle.
Yeah. Well, no, she cannot be out in public. It's just that because the fact that Kirito is alive and awoken, she decides to just go out there and see Kirito because of how much she wants to fuck Kirito. I'm obviously...
And then go back to Turtle, or...
Well, they go back to Turtle because she gets the email from the Underworld saying someone's contacting her, and they're trying to figure out why. Like,
why can't they just jack in from his house?
Because there's no server there.
Fine, okay.
Yeah.
So then now all three of them
Yes.
just 3 of them,
Yes.
Asuna, Alice, Kirito, are like, yeah, let's fuck back into this hyper secret, tight knit facility game server, whatever thingy-majig, and figure out
Like,
what is
who's
going.
sending out this distress call
Sure, okay.
and why they're sending it out.
And then they discovered, as you said, the revelation of space now, because
Yes.
a civilization has advanced, and
Yes.
then it's just like, boom, end.
Yeah.
So, okay.
And I never said it was a good ending.
So,
Not as it was a bad ending either. It was just a very confusing ending because
so technically,
every setting we've had has always been bound in like fantasy or dark fantasy, except for Gun Gale Online.
yeah, that's
right?
what I was gonna say.
But Gun
right?
Gale Online was also not like spaceships and
It was
shit.
like cyberpunk-ish,
it was,
right?
Well, it was like a weird like cyberpunk bunker,
And Counter-Strike.
and then you get sent into a virtual world where you fight in like deserts, you fight in
yeah,
forests.
just
and
give
all
me
that.
my double pink P90s.
Yeah.
Does she show up?
No,
Fuck.
no,
Fuck you.
They keep
Fuck you.
they keep that GGO part separate.
Not fuck you, Will, but fuck you.
for not including her. Yeah,
You include fucking everyone else and decided to not include, not even like an homage or a cameo. Okay, fuck you. All right, anyways. Okay. So, obviously, you know, or we could find out the answer in terms of the plot line of where it goes.
yeah.
I don't know, but we can easily find out. Where do you think it goes? So it becomes the next adventure's Mass Effect then, right? The video game.
I don't know
Because there's
it probably will be because they're set in, it's set like 200-300 years into the future and like they're in space, so there
no,
must
how can it be 200-300 years in the future they develop galactic technology?
Time moves fast, man.
For fucking sure. Okay, sure.
I mean, like 100 years ago, we had steam engines, and now we're talking about
Very fair.
you know?
Listen, my bad, my man. Okay.
Not to mention as well, like this is where like I'm trying to figure out where the plot goes because the last thing that Kirito was asked to do was try and help Higa, that computer scientist, to find a way to contact Kayaba. So
His
I'm
ex/lover / partner in crime.
Yeah,
Got
and
it.
so now I figured that like Kayaba has and always will be like a
Just like Dio.
central part of why this world of Underworld exists and all that.
Just
right?
like Dio.
So obviously that's the direction of what the next part of the series will go. The problem is, since everything was pretty much set, with the exception of Gun Gale Online, everything was pretty much set in dark fantasy. What the fuck are they gonna do in space? Like, is it just gonna be like lightsabers and fucking like laser guns and whatnot? I don't know because
I mean, that sounds like it.
I
mean, Gun Gale Online.
Yeah.
You translate it to laser pew 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 pew. Makes sense, right?
I mean, it was also
literally in season 2, fucking lightsaber Kirito deflected bullets.
which is also one of the lowest rated SAOs of all time. Too.
I remember that choreography scene to this day. It's sucking dumb.
Yeah, sucking
so
dumb. Yeah, it was,
fucking. It is so dumb that it messed up my English comprehension.
It sucks, fucks, dude.
Yeah, exactly. So it is very conceivable that the next adventure is Mass Effect. Of course, we could easily be wrong by Googling it. I'm not going to Google it. You're not going to Google it. We'll see how it goes. But like at this point, it's like New Horizon, right?
That aside, right? Speculation aside,
no pun intended.
I'm legitimately like happy with watching War of Underworld, despite like how wacky and insane the way I described it, because it actually like a lot of it. You have to watch it to understand.
You have to see it to believe
exactly,
it.
Right? Like,
it sounds corny, but legitimately.
Like I told you, dude just fucking like summons a Dark Lord as an avatar. Like that doesn't make any sense. But when you see it play out, this is actually
you literally
terrifying.
Spent the last
45 minutes,
narrating me the events as if like you're telling me a bedtime story, right?
Right. But so without any context, because you don't even know what this is all about, right? So this sounds fucking batshit.
Yeah, or like I don't know about like the awesome moments of the fight scenes and whatnot, or
which is kind of crazy because when you think about like talking about Green Baby in JoJo, it's like it's totally normal. Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
Like you walk closer to it, you get smaller, right?
Yeah.
Oh, Feng Shui Master. Yeah, of course. You want to be able to.
Morbius Strip decided to play a role in this.
They log into a game and they use the Darkest Overlord.
Yeah, and somehow that is inconceivable to us, right? Yeah.
Right.
And on top of all of this, the fact that this is anime we're talking about, where shit is just bonkers to begin with, but for some reason, the past 45 minutes is so unbelievable to me. It's like very weird sensation.
But that's also why like I was a lot happier watching Alicization versus War of Underworld, because everything was kept within that world. You only had Kirito, and you only had two other characters that mattered.
Yeah.
And they were the driving force.
And it was a reset to a certain extent.
Yeah.
And also, as you said, with the enclosed restrictions, it's like when Jojo Stone Ocean takes place in a prison, or part 4 in Morocco, like a fixed location. It's like, all right, it might suck that you have these 4 walls or this boundary.
Yeah.
But what do you do within this wall is kind of like, you can go wild, right?
That's why like Alicization I really like. I do also like War of Underworld, but because they start introducing so many plot points and so many characters that eventually like you just it becomes diminishing returns.
Basically, Alicization bend the rules. War of Underworld broke the rules.
Yeah, because then after a while, it's like you get introduced.
Then there's
to
no point.
So many people that like you just don't get as much excitement. Like, dude, like when they reintroduced the ordinal scale people, I was like,
there's no point.
I didn't hate them as characters, but I also felt like introducing them was not that necessary, especially if you're going to basically kill them off within like 5 minutes of introduction.
Like there's no point.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not trying to cut you off. There's literally no point.
Yeah. I think, and I can understand why they did it, because it's service for the fans to be able to showcase all of the classic characters of SAO.
Or tie in an anime original movie so it can kind of be in the lore and canon. I get it. Yeah.
But at the same time, it's just like, dude, this is too much stimulus.
So is this a good indication to be done with SAO as for you and for just anyone in general?
I think that if you came to this point and you decided you do not want to consume any more SAO,
mine is maybe a progressive stuff, right?
Yeah. Because it's still tied within the timeline, right?
And it's from like the awesome parts.
Yeah. So you could totally be fine just stopping here. I am intrigued to find out what happens next, only because I want to see how they stick the landing for the next location. In terms of like, you've gone from the world of SAO, you've gone from Gun-Gil Online, you've gone from weird elf land, which is like Alfheim. Then you also now have like this Wraith underworld where you find Alice and all that. So now that you have this AI technology that is Alice, what role does she play in this new world? Right? The threat of her being obtained as a nuclear fucking AI war machine is no longer there. So what's the significance of having Alice around?
I think the problem is when your stakes are so high, or like the ceiling now, you've reached the ceiling and you try to increase the ceiling, you could try to do a Gurren Lagann, but a lot of times it's not going to work out.
It's that's essentially like the kind of direction I think it's going to go, because again, you have to just keep on raising the stakes. But like you said, it either doesn't work or it works too well, and you have to raise the stakes again.
And then, as you said, it becomes diminishing returns. Because it seems like at this point, right, no matter what you do, it seems like it is diminishing returns in the long run for the main author, for the consumers and enjoyers of the IP.
Like, you're going straight from like Game of Thrones, Lord of the Rings, fantasy, like dark fantasy realm, into like cyberpunk, shoot pew pew, back into like a dark fantasy fucking like dystopia, and now transforming it into what could potentially be a massive scaled space opera.
Oh, it's EVE Online. Got it.
Right? Like, what are you gonna do beyond EVE, beyond Star Trek, beyond Star Wars? Like, what would be the literally, without like, lack of a better word, what's the next frontier?
Right.
All that being said, though, I think what War of Underworld, along with Alicization, has done is essentially bring the SAO fans back. They've given people reason to have faith in the IP, because despite all the crazy shit that I just mentioned, it's still a fun series to watch. SAO 2 was garbage, but War of Underworld, along with Alicization, brought me back. I'm pretty excited to find out what happens. I'm also cautiously wary that it could easily go fucking like tits up, but
also, if this was the end of the line, it also ended on a good note, right?
Yes.
So at the very least, like, that's a very reassuring thing for someone who.
I found that them introducing Alice into the IRL world was a bit weak. Like I didn't know.
Oh yeah, that was really dumb.
That was like really out of place. But then to send her back into that world and like come face to face with space horrors, and then like find out that they're in the future, and now they have to go back to this world where it's 200 years, 300 years in the future. Hey, that could be interesting. We'll see. We don't know. It's just that there's a lot of things that are just unexplained, right? Like why do you need to find Kayaba? Right? Kayaba was dead in season 1. Why does he still matter now? Alice came into the real world to tell people she's no longer an AI threat, but then you're also sending her back. So what's her place in this world where this AI threat doesn't exist anymore? Right? Like there's a lot of unanswered questions, which are more on the positive side. It's more like I'm curious to figure out like how this is going to transpire. So I'm a lot more positive than negative compared to if I had just finished watching SAO 2. I'd be pretty downtrodden.
I was.
Right?
I was.
So Alicization and Underworld definitely stoked back a lot of confidence in me that SAO should no longer be a laughing stock in terms of like, talking about really popular anime that really aren't that great.
Yeah, or relevancy or, I understand. Yeah.
So I'm happy with it.
Okay. All right.
It has been several years, though, since War of Underworld came out. 2022.
But they're still doing the progressive movies, right? So
Yeah.
so they have to.
I mean, they're also still doing the light novels, right? So
well, yeah, but I meant anime wise.
Yeah, so that's gonna be fine because it's still tied within this current timeline. I'm more wondering now with this whole potential space opera thing, what's gonna happen. We'll never know until. I mean, I could read the light novel. I don't want to.
Yeah, got it.
So we'll see.
I won't either. But
I gave both parts an 8.
Okay.
Right?
That makes sense to me, given like how flawed, but also how
I think
entertaining
it would be.
It's
similar to like the whole Jojo thing where it's like, as long as you don't take it too seriously, you'll be fine.
Right.
But that's, that goes with anything anime, right?
Yeah.
So that wraps up my thoughts on SAO.
And I guess my thoughts on SAO too.
We are at the 2-hour and 36-minute mark.
Fucking crazy. So, at this point in time, at our 10th Gotta Watch Them All, you might be wondering what is going to happen next. And Will and I have already decided where our next journey is going to take us. But we would also like to tell you that we would love to give thanks for listening to this episode of the Good Anime Palette podcast. If you want, you can also leave a rating or review on your podcast platform of choice. You can also contact us through various means. Our email is gapalette@gmail.com. That's GAPALETTE@gmail.com, all lowercase, all one word, using the handle @PaletteGood. That's capital P and capital G, all one word. Discord link and other social media platforms are also in the show description. We have a website, www.goodanimepalette.com, all lowercase, all one word. Music credits for this episode. Our intro music is Married to the Light by oomiee. Our break music is Green Summer Waves by Qeeo. And our outro music is Weeping by Cushy. You can always support the music artists that we feature by listening to them on Spotify, Apple Music, or your music listening platform of choice. And Epidemic Sound provides all of our royalty-free music. If you're interested, you can sign up using the referral link in our show description. Terms and conditions apply.
We've come a long. You've come a long way, right?
You too. You finished 2 series.
Yeah, but you also spent 2.5 years just watching JoJo, right? And
yeah.
each part is like anywhere from 2 to 4 curves.
I am so glad that what I'm embarking on next is not as lengthy, but just has as many seasons, if not a lot of content.
So to let you guys know what we'll be embarking on next for the Gotta Watch Them All series, I will be watching a certain scientific railgun.
And I will be watching Bungo Stray Dogs.
Which I'll also need to catch up on because I think there's 5 seasons. I've only watched the first 3.
And it's funny you say that because I also need to finish and catch up on a certain scientific railgun as well.
Yeah. But just because we're done, doing this current iteration of Gotta Watch Them All doesn't mean that we're no longer going to be talking about like the JoJos, the SAOs. I mean,
when they come, just like how as we said earlier in the beginning of this episode, 2.5 hours ago. The Monogatari thing, if it shows up, we're definitely going to consume it because it seems like from my end, I'm definitely going to check out JoJo Part 7 when it comes out in anime.
I definitely need to figure out what the fuck is happening in space in Sword Art Online.
Yeah, and off season and monster season, we're both consuming it and we both quite like it. So
you will hear about them here and there, for sure.
It will always be a part of us, an identity.
Yes.
It's always will be intertwined with the GAP bros.
Yes. Just like how in every universe there is a
Will
JoJo
and a Jason.
yeah.
Okay.
There's also a JoJo and a Dio.
Okay.
There's also a fucking Kirito and an Asuna.
Oh, yeah. And if all you motherfuckers who say, why are you watching a certain scientific railgun and not Magical Index? It's because Magical Index fucking sucks, all right? That's it. Goodbye.